I pledge my eternal gratitude to any law nerd who would edit and combine original Emily's live coverage of this trial with Sidebars coverage at specific moments. That sounds like a doctoral project. I see you guys asking when's Amber Heard going to testify? Probably this afternoon, but it could be tomorrow morning.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Right,
Will Amber Heard's countersuit be
the plaintiff
presented
has
separate?
rested
No.
in the defense case. Your
Defense
witness.
case. It'll be presented now, and the jury will
Dr.
decide.
Don Hughes to the stand.
That's what we expected. Dr. Don Hughes, though we heard it was going to be by video deposition. I'm very glad they're calling Dr. Hughes in live testimony. So that's where we're at. Dr. Don Hughes. We believe she is a forensic psychologist. So yes, countersuit being presented now. I've been loving your comment coverage. Thank you. Love you and what you do. You're welcome. Thank you. Question, is this a different jury? No, same jury. Same jury decides everything. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will you please state your name? Dawn Hughes.
That's a different tone. It's just going to be really interesting to see what happens. But now we know that Dr. Curry is in fact in the courtroom. I want to know what Chanley Painter thought of all of this. Chanley, what'd you think? But now we know Dr. Curry. Oh shit!
If you, I mean, Dr.
She did it again!
My apologies.
Fucking
My
hell!
apologies. Dr. Hughes ended up having her in the courtroom. Is that important?
That's very important when we're trying to figure out the course of somebody's illness, the course of somebody's psychiatric difficulties. As I stated, well, I don't think I got to state, personality disorders usually start in adolescence early.
Objection. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay.
Very interesting seeing this expert go, I think, beyond the bounds of saying, you know, this is my opinion. This is what the test showed. This is what the research shows. She's sitting there chatting like, oh my God. And then this one time on this plane on the way back from Boston, they totally got in a fight and Johnny was like in the car and he was like smoking weed and drinking and stuff. And then when they got on the plane, he kicked Amber in the back. She's not giving any clinical diagnosis to that. And she's not saying, I heard this story, I accounted for these things, and it factored into my opinion in this way. It's just very odd testimony from an expert because she's not saying that it was part of her, like, I made this finding for this reason, and I took these things into account when I made this finding for this reason. That's not what she's saying. She's saying this happened. This happened. She is not the fact finder. And as a forensic psychologist, she shouldn't be the fact finder. She should be investigating the factors at play within Amber Heard and not all of it. She didn't diagnose Depp. She didn't work with Depp. And yet she's leveling very large conclusions, his directions, which is kind of wild to see. You know, she talked about obsessive jealousy and saying that it's based on, you know, notes, but notes from who? It's very interesting.
Why didn't Amber Heard leave the relationship sooner?
What is your opinion?
You know why.
Objection, speculation.
It is. What is your
have you formed, based on your experience and based on your 29 hours of clinical evaluation of Amber Heard, what is your understanding of why Amber Heard didn't leave the relationship early?
That's
objection.
A better
beyond
question.
The scope of the disclosure.
That's not beyond the scope.
It clearly is not. I mean, it's clearly in the disclosure.
He said beyond the scope of the disclosure. That's interesting.
Point to where you say it's not. I mean, point to where you say it's not.
Point to where you say it's not. The disclosure means Jesus, this is a mess. The disclosure means this is not beyond the scope of what an expert can testify to. Is bro wearing sneakers back there in court? Like sneakers. Beyond the scope of disclosure means this is an opinion that is beyond what was disclosed to the other side that her opinion would be. The reason that's a big deal is because you have to do an expert disclosure. The expert's going to testify to this, and this, so that the other side can prepare. We've seen gamesmanship from Heard's legal team in court documents with regard to disclosures and discovery. And it looks like this is not going well from who the judge is looking at, going with, you've got to disclose it. You cannot make an opinion if it's not disclosed to the other side. So now they're sitting there flipping through this particular doctor's she's going to sustain the objection. I saw her say it. So this is not coming in. That's some fuckery right there. She's going to move on, and she does not look happy about it. But that's something that they should have disclosed.
You indicated
she
that
had to
your
move
main
on.
Opinion
she had to
was
move on.
Amber Heard's
that's a big
report of
loss.
Violence and abuse in her relationship.
Because why didn't Amber Heard leave? Now is left
with what
dangling.
is known as intimate partner violence.
Wow.
Correct?
Like Ms. Heard has trauma-based symptoms and PTSD.
Can I read now?
We say that
Please, thank you.
PTSD is a cue-based disorder. There are things that happen in the environment that trigger it and make it worse. And having to
I'm triggered by this testimony.
Refute, that your report of violence and abuse is a hoax makes that trauma activated. So it makes the PTSD symptoms at that
This
time
is absurd.
become more intense and more severe.
Dr. Hughes, are all of your opinions that you have provided today within a reasonable degree of psychological probability or certainty?
Boom.
Yes, they are.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a good time to go ahead and break for the day. We can have cross-examination and redirect tomorrow of this witness, of Dr. Hughes. So if you could have a good evening.
Doc, you better read your notes
with anybody, and don't do any outside research, okay? And we'll see you in the morning.
Oh,
thank you.
My God.
All right, Dr. Hughes, since you're still in the middle of your testimony, please don't discuss your testimony with anybody, including the attorneys, okay? And anything that you looked at, referenced during your direct examination, if you could just turn that over so they can review that before cross-examination, okay?
Turn over your entire file.
May I just I presume she wants to be able to take that back with her.
We can get copies of it. We'll get whatever it is.
Okay,
We'll make sure you get copies of it. So you get copies of it so you keep her originals. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
I have copies of everything that I looked at. Other than
Now they're fighting
right now. Court's in
Other
session.
than my
Thank you.
post-it note.
All right.
Court's
So
in
anything
session.
else then?
Expert.
We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m., correct? All right.
She said,
Thank
you have
Everybody-
copies of everything. And he said, no, we don't. And the judge is like, court is in session. This is not what you are going to do. All righty. Let's do the things. This is the very beginning of the morning, day 15, May 4th. All the attorneys are present. Bailiff, all rise. Court, all right, good morning. If I could have counsel approach for a moment. This is before cameras came on at the very beginning of the day. So at the end of the day, they just finished a shit ton of sidebars and Dr. Hughes's direct examination. We are now getting into Dr. Hughes's cross-examination. There was arguments about Dr. Hughes's notes and whether Dennis would get to see them overnight and prep the cross-examination, blah, 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 blah. The court. This is the new PR guy. I don't know who he is. Who remembers the new PR guy that came into court in like white shoes? Like stark, bright white shoes. That's the only thing I remember about this PR guy. Like social media excoriated the PR guy. I don't know if any of that's true or whatever. I remember him coming into court in like bright white sneakers as the PR guy. Do you guys remember this? New PR guy. This is the new PR guy. I don't know who he is, but he just came through the back. You guys have heard me tell you stories about the back hallways of courthouses. Look, man, there are rules. There are rules in a courthouse. He just came through the back and was extremely disrespectful to my sheriffs, to my captain, to my lieutenant. Don't fucking do that. Don't ever fucking do that. Don't ever fucking do that. No. Even if the court staff is rude to you, do not be rude back to the court staff. If court staff seems like they are being rude, they've probably had some asshole in their face already this morning and hit traffic and had somebody park in their spot that was running late to court and thought that that was fine. Do not ever be rude to court staff. Court staff is the magic key to practicing litigation. They know everything. And they are delightful. And they have to deal with members of the public and attorneys. This is not easy work, but to have entitled people come in every single day and be rude to them is just not going to fly. Court staff is bae. Get to know your court staff. If your court staff does not like you, practice in another courtroom. All right. Very disrespectful because I told him he can't have his phone out. Sir, this is the day after the court is arguing about only the legal team being allowed to have their devices. Only. This is the next fucking morning that the PR guy rolls in and is like, what do you mean I can't have my phone? Are you the lawyer? No, the court made it so clear to the attorneys. So clear to the attorneys. I told him he can't have his phone. One of the deputies said he saw him with his phone out. Very disrespectful. I don't want him coming back. Now we know why the PR guy disappeared. This is Amber Heard's new PR person, because PR got fired and then there was a new PR person. This is the new PR person that came in and then got yeeted that same day. Literally the day after the judge lit into the legal teams, both legal teams, about who's sitting in the front row and who's having their phone out. The team that got in the most trouble was Team Heard because Eve Barlow had her phone out. Eve Barlow got moved from the front row that is supposed to be for lawyers only to the back of the courthouse or further back where she couldn't pass up notes or hand her phone, and then had her phone out, was tweeting, and then got kicked out of the courtroom permanently. That happened like 12 hours before this. So Team Heard knew that this was an issue. And did they not give the PR guy a heads up? Miss Barlow does not come through security. I thought I made myself very clear about that. She does not come through the back. So Eve Barlow gets permanently banned from court, shows up to court the next morning with the PR dude and comes through the back entrance. It's a surprising amount of chutzpah. And court orders are not to be messed with. And Judge A knows everything, right? She doesn't come through the back. Miss Barlow came through the back with Miss Heard this morning. Miss Bredehoff, oh, I didn't know. There's like 4 people in the courtroom at this point. You didn't see her walk in. She got banned from court yesterday. Elaine, I didn't know. I don't believe you, Elaine. I don't believe you didn't know. And if you didn't know, why don't you know what the fuck your client is doing, Elaine? It's your job to know, Elaine. The court, I don't care if you didn't know. This is a very bad start to the morning. I don't care if you didn't know, Miss Bredehoff. This is your responsibility. Oh, Elaine. Elaine's getting it from all sides. No wonder she was flustered on the record. She got yelled at before court even started. This is your responsibility. From now on, only Miss Heard, her assistant, and the insurance attorney comes back to the back. The insurance attorney. Elaine's firm and Rottenborn's firm are hired by the insurance companies. There's also an insurance attorney watching every single day of trial because the insurance companies are paying for this. They're now fighting to get their money back, but they were paying for this. Period. Judge A said, period. I said what the fuck I said yesterday. I am the judge. This judge must have been appalled that she banned someone from the courtroom. And they had the fucking audacity to not only come back to the courtroom, but to come in through the back door. To use special access because this is a high profile case. Period. If it happens again, I won't have anyone come to the back. Understood? We are making security accommodations for you and you are abusing them. Ms. Bredehoff, completely understood, Your Honor. I apologize. Ma'am? How did you not know that Eve Barlow was in the car with your client? Eve Barlow was perma-banned from court. The court, I don't know his name, but he's very close to getting kicked out of my courtroom. If you want to let everyone know right now, I'm very upset about that. No one disrespects my sheriffs. Judge A is not fucking playing this morning. Miss Bretta Huff, I totally agree. Do you want me to go talk to him now? Elaine, how are you not comprehending what the court just said? Y'all, if we go code green now, we've got nowhere left to go. All right, you know what? Motion granted. Motion granted. Motion granted. And an air horn for the lead attorney if he's still in the chat. Motion granted. Because you know what? We're 2 pages into today. We're 2 fucking pages into this transcript. We're like 30 seconds of talking on the record into this transcript. The audacity. Okay. I have to make the lights green. Hold on. They always make me kind of green because I'm that. Where did I put my phone? Because I am that pale. We got to make the lights green. We got to make the lights green. I know. I got too excited about watching the bumper. It's new. I'm going to do it again. I need to set a complication or whatever to make the lights go green automatically. I just have forgotten to do it. I will do it. I will do it. I just have not. All right. Let's make sure this one goes to green. All right. There we go. Green, green, green. If I start looking green, well, it is what it is. All right. We've gone green, which is not always an easy color to get lighting to do. It doesn't always like green. All righty. Green. George is like, what the fuck are you talking about, woman? He's got that face, like the what are you on about face. Miss Bretterhoff, I totally agreed. You want me to go talk to him now? The court literally just said, if you want to let everyone know right now, I'm very upset about that. The court told you what they wanted you to do, Elaine. And your response to it was, you want me to go do that? The court, absolutely. Do we have anything else? Ms. Bretterhoff, yes. The court, okay. Your Honor may recall that we talked about, and then Ben Chu cuts in. Your Honor, just to clarify, Miss Barlow is not to come in the courtroom, correct? It sounds like Barlow is still standing in the courtroom while this conversation is going on. Mr. Chu, not to miss the moment. Just to clarify, Ms. Barlow is not to come into this courtroom. The court, correct. The court, no. She wasn't supposed to come in the back way. Ms. Bretterhoff, she has been barred. The court, then she couldn't have come. Ms. Bretterhoff, I agree with you completely, Your Honor. I completely understand where you're coming from. The court, all right, thank you. Ms. Bretterhoff, so this is the rough transcript. This is now getting into the conversation regarding Dawn Hughes' testimony and what Dawn Hughes is allowed to be asked about on cross-examination. So now they are talking about whether or not Dawn Hughes is giving opinions outside of her expert declaration. You have to tell the court what you are doing, and you have to tell the other side what you are doing. So this is now a continuing fight that Dawn Hughes is testifying to things that weren't in her designation, and she was allowed to testify to things that were outside of her designation. Did it benefit Team Heard? Probably some. Probably some. Did it ultimately sway the jury? No. Ms. Bretterhoff, this is a rough transcript. Your Honor will remember Dennison said that the witness had testified about IPV with prior relationships. Dennison was arguing that Dawn Hughes opened the door to allow him, Dennison, to question Dr. Hughes about Amber Heard's prior relationship kerfuffle at the airport, wherein there was an arrest that was later dropped. We saw that come in the rebuttal case, but they were trying to get into it at this point. And the court, I think, went above and beyond to keep that out at this time and to make sure that that the court was not overstepping, that prior instance where it's allege that Amber Heard was the aggressor in that situation, that Amber Heard being the aggressor in that situation should come in at this point. So I think the court did go above and beyond to keep that out. At the time, I didn't agree. I still don't know if I agree, but I think the court went above and beyond to protect Team Heard from this door being opened at this point, but the door ended up being opened later. George, a girl is trying to stream, sir. That cat, I swear. So Bretta Hoft is telling the court that this door should not be opened yet. This is not evidence that's coming in unless somebody opens the door for it to come in. The actual testimony she gave, and I've highlighted them in all of our copies, is she's talking about personality disorder. She said, and I'll let Your Honor read, the court is reading, quote, her emotional instability, her affect dysregulation, or her fear of abandonment is only occurring in the relationship with Mr. Depp, and we don't have evidence of it before, and we don't have evidence of it after. Ms. Bredehoff says nothing about IPV, and then, Your Honor, I highlighted page 246. This is where it starts. This is where Dennison says, I think the witness just said that she saw no prior evidence of IPV, and then he argues that that implicates the prior arrest of Ms. Heard because the person involved, etc. The court says, okay. Bredehoff said, and then he talked about the notes, and Your Honor may recall both Your Honor and I said, I don't recall her testifying to that. The court said, okay. Ms. Bredehoff said, and she didn't. And in fact, she mentions nothing of it in her disclosure, and she didn't testify to any of it. So Bredehoff is doing a good job arguing this does not open the door. We're keeping this evidence out. Bredehoff, or the court says, okay, Bredehoff said, so I think that's incorrect. I don't think she opened the door, and I don't think you can ask that question. So Bredehoff is doing a good job here shutting this down and saying the line that Dennison thought was crossed was not crossed. And here is all of it. The attorneys, when they go back at the end of the night, are not resting. That this is what they're doing. Mr. Dennison said, Your Honor, it is indirectly in her notes. Dennison, sir, it being in her notes doesn't open the door to it. But with respect to this testimony, there are symptoms that she has testified to relative to IPV, but she didn't say it. These are the emotional instability, dysregulation, fear of abandonment. These are all symptoms she was talking about ad nauseum with the assistance of her notes. That's exactly what we're talking about. That is a reach for Dennison. He's trying, but it's not going to fly. The court said, I think I'm just going to stay with what I said yesterday. You can ask the initial question about whether or not. Dennison said, I wrote down the question. And then they get into whether or not. And then Mr. Chu says, we've got it verbatim, the question that Your Honor allowed. The court, she wants to make sure everybody's on the same page. What is the question? And then Dennison said, I have it in my notes. Ms. Bredehoff said, so I'm going to allow him to ask her that question. Then they're trying to figure out what page they're on of the transcript. And then Dennison starts talking about the notes. I just want to try to figure out what we're doing with the notes. Is this witness coming back up to our cross-examination? The court said, yeah, we can't have her have the notes. If you go back and watch me getting frustrated at this expert witness was just straight reading from her notes and then got real snappy about it and was like, I don't want it to be a memory test. Ma'am, it's the fuck a memory test. That's why expert witnesses charge a fuck ton of money. It's not easy to do. It is a fucking memory test. That's exactly what it is. Yes, George. You can come say hi. It's exactly a memory test. Being an expert witness is a choice. You do not accidentally end up an expert witness. You could accidentally end up an eyewitness, but you don't accidentally end up an expert witness. That's why you charge the big bucks, or should. Ms. Bredehoff, the court says, yeah, we can't have her notes. We understand that, right? The court's like, we understand evidence, don't we, everybody? Team, we're on the same page with this, right? The court says, she can't refer to her notes unless she asked to do it. It appears yesterday, even when I was watching her, she was still using her notes. This is how it goes if you are an expert and you need to refresh your recollection. You will look for this in every trial you see, hi, George. If you're gonna, you don't get to sit on the lap until you say hi to the law nerds. You have to say hi first. You're breaking the rules. You don't get the cuddles unless you give the FaceTime. Yep. He's like, no, that's not a deal. That's not a deal. No deal. No deal. You can stay here. George scared the shit out of himself by knocking stuff over. Because cat. Are we surprised? Are we surprised? Oh, Georgie. Streaming with cats is hazardous. All right. So many streamers do it. It's always a hazard. Code George. All right. So this is Dennison taking a swing at it. Ms. Bretterhoff, Your Honor, I've always had experts bring their notes up there. The court. Again, Elaine does not appreciate, or Elaine is pretending not to appreciate the distinction in bringing notes up and reading from them. The court bringing them up is one thing, putting them to the side and have them face down, which most experts do. Bretterhoff will tell her to make sure she puts them face down, and if she needs to refer to them, the court, no. I can hear Judge A just being like, no, ma'am. Ma'am, we tried that yesterday. It didn't work. The court, no. Ms. Bretterhoff, what should she do? Elaine, you're the lawyer. Tell your expert what to do. The court, Elaine, what should she do? It's like when your kid looks at you at 15 years old and is like, how do you want me to unload the dishwasher? With your hands, sir. Preferably a towel. I would like you to dry the things that are still wet and put them where they go, the same way you've been doing it for years. Don't be coy with me. What should she do? Stop it. The court, I don't think she should bring them to the witness stand at all. That way, maybe she won't have the urge to read her notes. The urge, I think maybe that'll be better. And if she thinks she needs to refresh her recollection, she can ask Mr. Dennison, and then maybe her notes can be retrieved for that one question. Is that okay? Mr. Dennison, I have a significant number of questions for her. Oh, yes, I bet you do. But I don't think it's going to be anything close to a memory test. The court, okay, so just don't have them. Ms. Bretterhoff, may I tell her that? The court, you have a few things you have to tell some different people, Ms. Bretterhoff. Do your job, Elaine. Go do your job. Go tell them. Go tell the PR dude that he can't be on his phone. Go tell Eve Barlow that she's yeeted from the courtroom and she needs to leave. Go tell your expert that this is the fuck a memory test. Go tell them, Elaine. I'm sorry I'm giving you homework, but I need to get that done. It's totally upsetting. Ms. Bretterhoff, I totally agree. I feel exactly that way, Your Honor. I feel exactly the way Your Honor does. I totally respect Your Honor. Okay. Elaine, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm sorry. She's trying, Your Honor. Bless her heart. The court, all right. Ms. Bretterhoff, there's one more thing as long as we're up here, ma'am. Read the room. Now is not the time. There's one more thing. We think there's going to be, Ms. Hurd is going to be on after Dawn Hughes. The court, which is after lunchtime. Ms. Bretterhoff, we anticipate there's going to be some significant hearsay exceptions. Oh. At the beginning of the day, before they called Amber Heard to testify, Elaine said to the court, we expect there are going to be significant hearsay objections. The foreshadowing is delightful. So Elaine was exactly aware of what was going to happen. Elaine knew exactly what was coming from Camille Vasquez. That's fascinating to unearth. That's fascinating. We anticipate there's going to be significant hearsay exceptions to that because they've been accusing her of falsifying prior testimony. So we've prepared a brief, and I just wanted to give it to Your Honor. They prepared a written brief. The court, okay, so we can start dealing with the issues. Ms. Bretterhoff, right. We think there are some cases that are pretty on point to this. The court will take a look at it. I'll take a look at it. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chief, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Dennison, thank you, Your Honor. The court, okay. Open court. All right. Are we ready for the jury then? I don't know how much time they gave Elaine to go talk to all the people. Dennison, yes, Your Honor. The court, wait, no, not yet. I put my microphone on. Sorry, Judy. Are we ready for the jury? Yes, Your Honor. The court, yes. And then the jury enters and they get into the cross-examination of Dr. Dawn Hughes. She can still talk about court and procedure in court and the case and things like that, but she won't be able to talk about testimony. Who is she talking to the PR dude? I think she is. I think she and the PR dude are talking. I bet she's admonishing him about using his phone. I wonder if that's what they were talking about at the bench. I bet she was admonishing him about his phone. Like, bro can't be on his phone. He's not in the first row. He's not legal team. He can't be on his phone. Is he sitting next to Chanley Painter from Court TV again? We're going to be getting the jury coming in. When Depp was on the stand, they had the witness on the stand when the jury walked in. They're going to like make her walk up again. But I wonder if that's intentional. And I wonder if she will walk up with nothing in her hands. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Will she walk up with her binder? Will she walk up with any papers? Or will she walk up with just a freaking bottle of Dasani? We're going to see in just a minute. Which I kind of love that she's not already sat there so we can see it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
The jury is here.
Dr. Hughes, if you can come back to the stand for me, please.
No, let's watch her walk up. We want to watch her walk up. Darn it. There she is, just a bottle of water. Just a bottle of water. She's going to say, if I could refer to my notes, and they're going to say, negative ghostwriter, the pattern is full. Where's your post-it note now?
Did
Protective,
you say on direct
which is odd for
that you
a
saw no previous
forensic
interpartner violence? Just
Ooh.
yes or no?
I don't believe I did.
You don't believe that you saw interpartner violence, or you
She
didn't
has a
say it on
question too.
direct?
I don't believe I said that yesterday.
Okay.
That's where they're going. No previous IPV. There's got to be some rulings here. They've got to get into this. I imagine that what they're approaching about, and this is my just my speculation from being a trial attorney, I imagine that they're saying they've opened the door now to get into the ex-partner, to talk about whether that would have changed her opinion, to talk about whether she was presented that information or she was picking and choosing, because there's going to be some rulings in court about not getting into Amber Heard's prior arrest for domestic violence with her ex-wife. But those doors can be opened, if you will, if she didn't consider this past arrest, if she didn't consider that there had been previous incidents of intimate partner violence where Amber Heard was the perpetrator. It goes to her credibility and it goes to what she's basing her expert testimony on. I think that's what they're arguing about now. I think that's why he asked, do you know who this is? Did you testify that you had ever seen that? That if she had never seen that, why? If Amber Heard had never reported that to her, why? If Amber Heard had left information out, does that change her assessment? This goes to evaluating her expert opinion, and it should come in. All right, sidebar number 2. Dennison, Your Honor, can we approach? Yes, sir. Dennison, thanks. During the testimony of Dawn Hughes, 1246, which opposing counsel insisted come in as a full exhibit, the court, all right. When we get to the last page, there's a legal history that addresses her arrest for domestic violence. This is Dennison talking about Heard's arrest for domestic violence after apparently Elaine had entered it as a full exhibit. The court, okay, Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, I would want this redacted. I wasn't aware, but I don't have the exhibit. It seems like it's their exhibit. It's Elaine's exhibit. Elaine should have had the court redact it before. But again, this is Dennison being an officer of the court, not being shady. The court has already ruled the door's not open. The court has already said we can't do this. Dennison sees it and approaches to the court and says, hey, by the way, heads up, this is in here. It's already been admitted as a full exhibit. I wasn't aware, but I didn't have the exhibit. It's your exhibit. Okay. Dennison, I would like to ask Ms. Bredehoff, it also has the dogs. It has all of that on the page. I would want that redacted. Dennison, these are the notes that this witness took with respect to her initial intake relative to the domestic violence And Tasha is an intimate partner who was identified in the intake form. Tasha being Amber Heard's ex-girlfriend. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor can see this is legal history. The court, I'm sorry, wait, where am I looking? It sounds like these attorneys are talking quickly. Ms. Bredehoff, legal history, it doesn't say intimate partner violence. It also says, Dennison, the arrest is for domestic violence. Ms. Bredehoff, the arrest, that should stay out. That should have been redacted, Your Honor, or that should be redacted. Elaine. I know they were dealing with a lot of exhibits, but this seems like a big one because they were fighting so hard to keep it out. And it would have stayed out if they hadn't opened the door for it, and they did. It would not have come in. And in fact, even at the end, the fact that Amber Heard was arrested for it did not come in. It was just the actions that came in. So the court then says, so what are you asking me? The arrest is for domestic violence. Ms. Bredehoff, the arrest, that should stay out and that should be redacted, Your Honor. The court, so what are you asking me? Are you asking me if you can ask her about it because it's in her notes? Dennison, I'm asking to ask her being Dawn Hughes. I'm asking to ask her about because Ms. Heard identified this as part of her legal history, and this incident included an arrest for domestic violence relative to an intimate partner. The court said, right, but she didn't testify to it. Ms. Bredehoff says, no, they're talking about Dawn Hughes. The court, I have the motion in limine in place, so I'm just not going to allow it at this time. Dennison is trying every which way to get this into court, and it is not happening. Bredehoff, I asked that this page be redacted. I asked before that we go through for redaction. This is one I'm asking for redaction. Dennison, so the motion in limine allowed me to ask that single question. The court said, no, I believe that the door ain't opened. Okay, Judge A. If she testified to that, you definitely would have been able to get into it, but in the motion in limine, you wouldn't be able to get into it unless the door was open. But I just want you to know, if the door opens, the door opens. This is her talking to Ms. Bredehoff. If it gets into intimate partner violence and the fact that Amber Heard is saying that she's never been in a relationship like that before, the fact that she was arrested for domestic violence and the facts of that arrest can become relevant at that time. It goes on to say, but I think the last page has to be redacted. I'm waiting for redactions anyway. You have a chance to look at it. Bredehoff said, okay. The court said, all right. Dennison said, thank you. The court said, all right. And then they go back to open court and talk about the temporary restraining order. And it looks like she's blocking his face. I'm sure that's just the angle. But this is an important part of what was considered, and their expert opened the door for it. I think it should come in. There might be limiting instructions on how it can come in, but again, fair is fair. They asked experts, well, did you know Johnny Depp was sued by somebody who says he punched him? It's just as fair to say, did you know that Amber Heard was arrested for domestic violence in an intimate partner relationship with her ex-wife? It's fair. Dr. Hughes, is Amber Heard from the future? Maybe she might be Amber Heard from the future coming back to testify. This is going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. You're welcome for the insight. They have to prove that she lied to the jury.
And would it be helpful
minimal makeup
to
today.
have the full exam as opposed to one page out of it?
As with anything, seeing an entire profile gives one more information.
Your Honor, I'd move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 15.
No, it's not going to come in.
Objection.
Not going to come in.
And I would argue the
If we
completeness
could
rule
approach
again.
for this.
The judge has ruled 3 times now on completeness, and Elaine Bredehoff keeps trying to end route around the judge's ruling. This is not what completeness is for. Next, sidebar. This is them still talking about exhibitties, and this is still on the examination of Dawn Hughes, the cross-examination of Dawn Hughes. Your Honor, I move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 1859, Dennison objection hearsay. The court, all right. Oh, so this is on redirect. Ms. Bredehoff, I would argue the completeness for that. The court, you can approach for this, the court. I just want to make sure they just did the first page. Is that the actual test or is it the Bredehoff? It's the entire test. The court, you want the entire test. I understand that, but the first page was just a summary of it. Ms. Bredehoff said, no, the 2 pages that he put in were a page from it, and it wasn't even the beginning or a summary. It was a particular snapshot. It's 1 page from a particular area. Dennison said, I asked the witness about the critical items identified on the test. I didn't go into anything other than the critical items on the test. That's why I put those pages in. The court said, okay. So they're arguing completeness. Like, hey, you can't just pick and choose. A document is a document. You need the whole thing. You can't just say, this little bit says that. You need the context. So that's what they're trying to argue, is that you need the whole context for it. The court said, all right, I understand the objection by him. I'm going to sustain the objection because there are things in there that the court is saying is not evidence and they don't need to be complete. Thank you, though. I just want to make sure, Ms. Bredehoff. Okay, thank you. Back to questioning the witness. They entered the first sheet to show that she did the test and the date that the test was done. You don't need completeness for that. And they're trying to get in a bunch of hearsay that's on these documents. Yes, hearsay documents. And that is why they're fighting. But this is not what completeness, again, is for, because they don't need the entire test because it's not out of context. The first page goes to date. So it'll be interesting to see what the judge here does. She's ruled it 3 times and we're getting Bredehoff arguing again. No, Your Honor, now there's the foundation for it. Now there's this. Now there's this. But she's not going to be able to end route this judge to get that in. So let's see what happens.
Now, Dr. Hughes.
And thank you, chat, for adhering to the chat rules. We don't name call in
you
here.
were shown a couple
we have a very
of
pleasant chat.
Pictures.
Don't show the finger pictures.
If I'm the culprit, majority of the time, I will fucking do everything I can. And I will recognize when I'm fucking starting to go sideways. I will recognize.
Do you recall listening to that part of the tape, the audio tape?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recall from that portion? Again, I know it's hard to hear, but
It's hard to hear, but
Very hard to hear.
what I recall from hearing that was the negotiation that the couple is trying to do and trying to say, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to do better.
okay. Is it possible to turn that up anymore, or is it, I have one more? I'm just.
Yeah, the audio today has been pretty terrible.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay, my last one is 3:26:20 to 3:29:50.
Your Honor, can we approach?
Okay, yes, sir.
Dennison, all of this is beyond the scope of cross. The court said, well, I mean, you put the audio tape in. So Dennison introduced the audio tape and the court's like, it's in evidence. What is your problem here, my guy? The court, well, I mean, you put the audio tape in. Dennison said, every audio tape comes in because I asked about one thing. Bredehoff said, it's the same audio tape. And the court said, it's the same audio tape. This is the last, correct? Bredehoff, yes. Dennison, thanks. And the court was like, no, sir. No, sir. You can ask about it again. Nope, we're not doing that. We're not playing these games. You can talk about it on your recross. As an expert,
You were asked
those notes don't
about
come
a
in.
knife. You were shown Plaintiff's Exhibit 92 and a knife that's.
I thought that was very good
till
cross.
Death. What is your understanding of the significance of that knife and that phrase as it related to Amber Heard?
That's absolutely irrelevant. Her
Objection, Your Honor,
speculation.
no foundation.
It's for speculation.
He showed it in cross-examination. I'm able to ask about it and what her understanding.
Yeah, but not
was.
in
He
that
cut her off
way.
When she was trying to talk, I'm just letting her go back in.
I'm just letting her go back in. No,
Her understanding of a knife?
is not relevant.
Let's pull up Plaintiff's 92. Tom, can I get you to do that, please?
Oh, now she's asking their tech expert to pull it up. Great. Tom, be a love. Will you pull up the giant fucking knife that Amber Heard gave to Johnny Depp? I'd love to hear her opinion as to why someone who was in an inapposite position
in response to the questions asked by counsel for Mr.
of
Depp,
power
who
would
said it
give
depends
this.
upon what the context is. What did you mean by that?
That's a better question.
Well, first I believe that this is the knife that has a turquoise end. And
I think
this
this
was
knife-
a time when Mr. Depp was filming The Lone Ranger and he was in a turquoise phase. And she purchased him that because she thought it would be
A full picture of the
kind
knife's on my Twitter. I want to go see
gift.
it.
the phraseology is that Mr. Depp told her the only way out of this relationship is death.
And
Objection, hearsay.
Well, that's an admission by a party opponent. It's not really
I don't
hearsay.
I don't understand the objection.
I don't
think
either.
She was entitled to be able to speak to that.
The objection was to the question, not to the answer.
Yeah, it's Mr. Depp's statement.
Yeah, it's party
Rule
opponent.
the objection.
Thank you. Okay.
I agree with Elaine on that one.
And what is your opinion?
It's a
what do
light
you
turquoise
think of
on the
that
knife.
as a clinical psychologist in specializing
Yes.
in IPV and trauma?
That's speculation.
I mean,
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach?
Can we approach? Ms. Bredehoff, thank you. What is your opinion? What do you think of that as a clinical psychologist specializing in IPV and trauma? And there's the problem. We have spent pages of them arguing over whether Dr. Hughes was going to give any opinion with regard to IPV. And the court said, no, ma'am, she's not giving an opinion on that. It wasn't in her designations. We're not doing this. And now on redirect, Elaine is trying to elicit it again. And Denison's like, object, can we approach? Because they've been fighting over this at Sidebar for like a day and a half. Oh, I'm annoyed. It's interesting that they're trying to get to some expert opinion of why the knife was given, but it's not being done very well by Elaine, and that's why there's these odd objections. It's like you can't really get into it unless she formed an expert opinion. They're trying to get in Amber's thought process of why she gave the knife. Denison, we're about to launch into yet another undisclosed opinion that's not reflected. Ms. Bredehoff, this is from cross-examination. This is from cross-examination. The court said, I know, but it's still an opinion because she's eliciting an opinion. Ms. Bredehoff's question, what is your opinion? You're eliciting an opinion. Ms. Bredehoff, yeah, but if it comes up in the examination, I didn't raise that with her. This is something he raised. I can ask her about it. You can ask her, but you can't elicit an opinion. It's sneaky shit. The court, you did ask her about it, but I don't think her opinion on it is a different matter. These are significant differences. This is not splitting hairs. These are substantial differences. No wonder everyone was put out with each other by the end of the day, right? Ms. Bredehoff, I'll try to rephrase it, Your Honor. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can't elicit an opinion. The court, okay, thank you. Ms. Bredehoff, thank you. Denison, thank you. Back to court. But the question should be, and it's a proper question for an expert in interpersonal violence, why would a victim of interpersonal violence that's in a relationship where the power is unequal give someone a knife? That is a question based on in her expert opinion, because she is an expert, but the question's not being asked well.
Dr.
And
Hughes,
she
do
just
you
indicated
think
something
that
to
the
Amber Heard,
phraseology on the knife,
which was interesting.
There's any relationship or significance?
No cross-examination
to the
again.
opinions
This is
you've
it.
had in this case.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustain the objection.
She's an
What, if
expert.
any,
You're allowed to lead.
significance?
Dr. Hughes, what do you think that the phraseology on the knife bears any relationship or significance to the opinions you've had in this case? I'll try to rephrase it. I'm going to, instead of saying opinion first, I'm going to bury it later in the sentence. And if I bury opinion later in the sentence, then we're good. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This judge is smarter than that. This attorney is smarter than that. What you're not going to do is you're not going to sneak this in. You're not going to sneak this right in. Mr. Denison, objection. Sustain the objection. What, if any, significance does the phraseology of the knife have to the opinions you've provided in this case? Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of the disclosure. Ms. Bredehoff, he brought it up on cross, Your Honor. You just fought about this at Sidebar. You just fought about this at Sidebar. Now you're fighting about it again in open court. The court already told you. And so now the court has backed down. I'll overrule the objection. I imagine that at this point, Don Hughes doesn't even know what's being asked again. And then Don Hughes answers what she thinks there is. Then they go back to the audio tape, and then we have another sidebar.
All right. Is this witness subject to recall?
Yeah, you bet she
Yes,
is.
Your Honor.
All right.
We're
And
done.
you can't discuss your testimony with anybody, but you're free to stay in the courtroom.
So redirect is over.
Expert testimony. Okay.
Thank you,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Thank you.
Our next witness, is it Amber Heard? Or is it time for lunch?
All right. I think we'll go ahead. Yes, sir. Okay.
Brett Hoff's face says everything. May we approach? Oof. You saw her just go, woof. Is this witness subject to recall? It seems like this witness is done. Ma'am, you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. You're free to stay in the courtroom. Dennison, may we approach? Okay, Your Honor, I'd like to make an oral motion to strike those portions of Dr. Hughes's testimony that exceeded the scope of the disclosure. He's not letting it go, and he shouldn't. That's his job. And Elaine didn't let it go. And Elaine eventually won and got her way because she kept wearing the court down on the way she was phrasing it. And the court was like, just ask her. Just ask her. And now Dennison's like, I'd like to make an oral motion to strike the portions of Dr. Hughes's testimony that exceeded the scope of the disclosure, including all evidence related to the MMPI-2, her views on personality disorders, and her testimony relative to the various communications she had with other doctors as to personality disorders. None of that appeared in any of the 4 disclosures she made. The MMPI-2 information was Dr. Curry's disclosure, and she had every opportunity to rebut it. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, these need to be made simultaneously if he's going to. Mr. Dennison, I did object. Ms. Bredehoff, I don't agree that you did simultaneously object. They're fighting over when he objected. He objected every single time she said the word opinion. And Elaine is showing you that she is not unaware because she knows exactly what she's arguing. I don't agree that you did simultaneously object. And they were in the disclosures, and they were in her deposition. I read through the deposition last night. The deposition and the disclosures are different. I read through the deposition last night, so I don't think there's any basis whatsoever for striking those. Your deposition and your disclosures are different, and if it was in the deposition and not in the disclosures, you should have caught it and had her do an additional disclosure. Maybe. Dennison, this is exactly the conversation we had yesterday when we asked opposing counsel, where in the disclosure does it say? The court, right, and I sustained the objection. Ms. Bredehoff, exactly. Your Honor sustained the objection. Exactly, Elaine. Sustained it, not overruled it, and then you kept asking. Dennison, but it was much broader testimony. I made repeated objections. The court, I'm going to overrule the motion, okay? Bredehoff, thank you. Dennison, thank you. At this point, Dennison has to have steam coming out of his ears. This was very interesting testimony. I don't know what they're bringing to the court's attention. It looks like the court is going to get ready to break for lunch. So I think Amber Heard will be the next witness after lunch. And then we'll probably testify. Well, we'll absolutely testify the rest of today, the rest of tomorrow. The court, we're going to take our lunch break. They took a lunch break. And then we came back calling Amber Heard to the stand at 12:49 p.m. Bredehoff, I have one housekeeping matter, Your Honor. All right. There are 4 tape recordings played out of 343. And then they're talking about that. And then the jury comes back in. Your Honor, we would like to call Laura Amber Heard. Just in case you had forgotten that after all of that, Elaine calls Amber Heard to the stand by the wrong name. Just in case you forgot.
All right, your next witness.
Your Honor, we'd like to call Laura Amber Heard to the stand.
And whoop, there it is. Her name is Laura Amber Heard. So there we go. We are getting right into Amber Heard's testimony. That's what we thought was going to happen. No surprises here. She's been sworn in. She's grabbing whatever she's grabbing, and away we go into her testimony. All right, y'all. Remember in the chat, we are watching along, no name calling. We are just going to watch and see. This is going to be a full day of Amber Heard's
Thank you, Your Honor.
testimony
Would
with
you please state your
Umbridge.
name
Yes, it's Amber Laura Hurd.
and what is your address?
Oh,
I live in Yucca
Amber
Valley,
Laura Heard. She
California.
called her Laura Amber Heard.
How old are
Her
you?
name wrong. If I am Amber Heard in this moment, I am fucking furious that I have sat through 15 days of trial, years of litigation, and my lawyer calls me the wrong fucking name. Pissed. I would be pissed. And testifying is real fucking stressful. Laura Amber Heard. Amber Laura. Amber Laura Heard. I died. I die again. All right. Will you please state your name? Yes, it's Amber Laura Heard. And with that was the beginning of Amber Heard's testimony, background, upbringing.
Do you recognize this?
She hasn't described how anything felt yet, which is sitting odd with
Yes,
me.
I do.
She doesn't
And could you tell us what it is?
talk about what things felt.
It's a picture of
like
my
they
face
landed
with,
on her body, and that's odd for me.
a note that Johnny left for me by the coffee. Typically is where we'd leave notes like that.
And does this accurately depict the scene portrayed?
It was one
Dr.
of
B, I want
those
notes by the
scenes
coffee.
I
What notes by the coffee?
as embarrassing as it sounds now, I don't know which scene this came from. There was a lot. It
Which
escalated
scene?
interesting
Again,
fast. And
that's
it
interesting language.
Became,
Amber, let me ask it a different way.
thank you.
Which scene?
Is this a picture of you? Is it an accurate picture of you?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of 1783.
Your Honor, we have an objection. May we
Okay,
approach?
This might be the time when they are arguing about the photos that were not properly turned over to the defense. They are looking back at her old testimony because they have a live feed from the court reporter here, and we can see just a little bit of the photo they're pulling up on the screen. So we know what photo that is. It came up with the doctors. So we can tell, but the jury isn't seeing this yet. I think this has already been admitted, but they are clearly having a sidebar about it. Vasquez, Your Honor, this is a photograph that was produced after the close of discovery. Remember how we talked about rules earlier? We talked about rules in discovery. This is one of those things that once discovery closes, it is closed. Like there's no like loosey-goosiness to this. And these rules are known from the beginning of trial. And sometimes these dates push. Normally, as trial gets pushed back, the discovery cutoffs push back. So it's not like the discovery cutoff ends arbitrarily and then the trial gets pushed and then those don't get pushed. Your Honor, this is a photograph that was produced after the close of discovery. The court, okay. We object on that basis. And yeah, Bretta Hoff. This is one of the pictures that Craig Young identified, gave it to both of us at the same time. There are a number of pictures that both sides got when he went through the different time periods, the court, right, and produced the pictures. And that's where it came from. We both got them at the same time. There's no prejudice. Actually, first of all, note for reading transcripts. When you see these little dashes, it means that people are talking over each other. So the court said right in between Elaine's sentence. Vasquez, the prejudice is, Your Honor, that these came from devices that were in Miss Heard's possession, custody, and control. They represented to the court several times when you granted our motion to image Heard's devices that the devices had previously been imaged. Why this photograph and a number of others weren't produced is a problem before the close of discovery. So the argument is, Elaine said, well, we didn't get them till they got them. Well, you had the devices. And if you had the devices, you had them in your possession, even if you didn't know they were there. And if the devices were already imaged and these images weren't on it, where did the images come from? Were they edited images? Are they true images? Either way, the discovery cutoff is a discovery cutoff for a reason. You can't just, sneak a doodly in some other images. You can't like whoopsie doodle images. Well, discovery closed. Here's all this. No. Trial by ambush is not allowed. So why this photograph and a number of others weren't produced is a problem before the close of discovery. Bretta Hoff, There were hundreds of thousands of pictures, Your Honor. Well, Your Honor, it's just a lot. I mean, we had years to go through it. No, Elaine. Your Honor, it's just a lot of shit. No, the court said, right, but if you wanted to use it at trial, it should have been provided in discovery. That's why we have discovery cutoff dates. Bredehoff, we didn't discover it until then. The court, tough shit. I mean, that's not what the court said. What the court said was then I'll sustain the objection. And they lost that objection, or they won that.
Cycles you had with
Depp's
Mr. Depp
team won that
through
objection.
2012.
That photo's not coming in right now.
So,
And did you confide in anyone about these issues you were having? I think she can say. I think she can say if she told anybody.
She can say who she told, just not what. Yeah, she can say who she told, just not what.
So did you tell anyone?
yes, I did.
Who did you tell?
I told my therapist. I eventually told my mom.
And let's go ahead and take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 150.
If she told her mom.
150,
I guess we'll serve
150.
from that.
Your Honor, I'm going to object on hearsay.
So they're approaching over whatever this exhibit is. Your Honor, I'm going to object to hearsay. All right. Do you want to approach Vasquez? Yes. The court, Michelle, I'm sorry. Could you make it a little bigger just so I could see it? I'm sorry. I apologize. All right. Thank you. So that's the court talking to her court assistant. Bredehoff, Your Honor, this is the reason that we submitted a brief this morning. Mm-hmm. Because we think there are a number of hearsay exceptions for these communications. Oh, so Elaine is aware of the hearsay exceptions and briefed them before Amber Heard got on the stand. Who would have known from watching this trial that happened? I wouldn't have known because it looked like Elaine was perpetually caught off guard. Maybe that was her shtick before the jury, but it looked like she was perpetually caught off guard. She's not caught off guard by this. She filed a motion that morning. Very well aware. Maybe she wanted the jury to think that she was being beat up on by Mr. Depp's big fancy lawyers with their big fancy tests and their big fancy experts. And like, ho hum, we're just trying to like do this or do that. Your Honor, this is the reason we submitted a brief this morning because we think there are a number of hearsay exceptions for those communications. One of the most significant ones, the court said, hold on, wait till she comes back. Ms. Bredehoff, that's fair. It seems like Vasquez probably went and got something and came back. Okay, we'll go through it line by line. Which one do you think? Okay, so who is this text between? Let's get that straight. Bredehoff, this is a text between she and her mother. Her mother's now deceased. The court, okay, so she and her mother, okay? Bredehoff said, I think the most significant one that we want to get is the blue one. The court, the blue was Amber. Quote, I don't know what to do. He's texting saying he wants to talk today. I haven't answered the text back. Okay, so what issue? That's clearly hearsay. What's your exception to hearsay? Agreed. That's clearly hearsay. Ms. Bredehoff, exception is present sense impression. Ma'am. No, it's, am I going to have to go get my hearsay, my rule of evidence book? Where's my evidence code? I might have to grab it. That is not a present sense impression. It's not describing something. Texting your mom to say, I don't know what to do is not a present sense impression. So that is not the right exception. Exception is present sense impression. No. Because under the rules, and that's why we filed the bulletin on that, the court said, go ahead, because it's stating what's going on, what she's expecting at the time. No, it's not. She's not retelling on the phone with her mother. He just came into the house. I think that he's drunk. I'm scared, blah, 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 blah. No. He asked to talk. Okay. Ms. Bredehoff, because it's stating what's going on, what she's expecting at the time. No, it's not. We also think it's sort of a state of mind and present physical condition. It's not a state of mind. Okay. The court, okay, Bredehoff. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring to Your Honor's attention is that we believe that these are prior consistent statements. Ma'am, no, you have gone too far, Elaine. The court, well, she hasn't been impeached yet, so you can't do prior consistent statement. That's an easy one. Damn. The court's just sitting there being like, you have reached too far, Elaine, because we're not even there yet. We can't even cross that bridge. We haven't even come to it. Ms. Bredehoff, I understand. The court said that's only on redirect. You can do that on redirect if she's impeached. Ms. Bredehoff, I understand Your Honor's ruling on that, and I think that they have already done so during their opening statement. It's not how any of this works. They did it during their opening. No, that's not how that works. You can't impeach someone during your opening. The court doesn't even respond. The court just says, no. Ms. Bredehoff. But taking that one aside, in the cases, Your Honor, in present sense impression, so now Elaine's going back to the other ones to try to end route the thing. She's trying to just sneak it in through the side door. This is something that she's stating at the time. And the court said, right, I've read your brief. I understand that. But the thing with present sense impression is it's present sense impression, not past sense impression. The court is now getting snarky with the rules of evidence, and I fucking love it. So present sense impression has to be something that she's involved with at the time. Can't be a past, quote, he called me, he texted me, he wants to talk today. I haven't answered back. That's not a present sense impression. So the court has now lost her patience. It's just no. Ms. Bredehoff is and the last one is state of mind and present physical conditions. Ma'am, no. And that's for the current state of mind, emotions, sensations, or physical conditions. I think she's reading from her brief or the rule of evidence. Or physical condition such as enhanced motor design, mental feeling, pain, or bodily harm. Yes, somebody yelling, I think my leg is broken, is a statement of a present physical condition. All my examples for state of mind come from the criminal context, and all of them are dark. So I'm just going to skip over and see what the court has to say. The court said, go ahead. I know it was a new state of mind. Your Honor, it's not a state of mind. This is a text saying we don't know when she said that in relation to whatever. The court said what she's talking about. That's not a proper way to bring in hearsay. The court said, okay, all right, I'll sustain the objection. Thank you, Your Honor. I will be continuing to try with some of the others. Bless your heart, Elaine. Your Honor, I will be continuing to try with some of the others. Elaine knows this is going to be a shit show and just tells the court, Your Honor, welcome to the fucking circus. We're going to just keep doing this. The court, you can keep continuing, but present sense impression is present sense impression. So Ms. Bredehoff says, she's saying, I don't know what to do. The court, that's hearsay, clearly hearsay. Okay. I'll sustain the objection. Woo! Back in open court.
Why did you decide
whatever they were trying to get
in your mother?
They didn't get in. Whatever they were trying to just get in, they didn't get in. And this is going to keep being an issue for Heard's team. That is exciting.
Opened up to her about some violence. I did it gently. First I just wanted to have someone to talk to about how scary it was. The rage and the uncontrolled violence, the rage that this man had, and why it was
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. May we approach, please?
Okay. Objection, Your Honor. May we approach? Okay. Your Honor, she's characterizing hearsay. And she said she confided in her mother, but she's starting to characterize what she said. Amber Heard can testify how she felt, what she saw, what she did. But she can't testify, I told someone this. She can just say, this happened. And they keep flipping it. I think it's just as powerful to say, this happened. I was struggling with this. I talked to my mother about it. That's it. I talked to my therapist about it. That's it. You can't say what you said. You can say what happened and then say, I talked to people about what happened, but you can't testify, I told them ABCD. And they are flipping it. And I don't know why. Just testify about what happened. What you saw, what you heard, what you did. Not what you said. Ms. Bredehoff, the court says she said she confided in her mother, but she is starting to characterize what she said. She's saying it without saying I said. Ms. Bredehoff, I don't think she was characterizing. I think she was saying what she felt. I didn't hear the court. She was kind of saying what she was saying. I'll sustain the objection. If you're close, we can have our break whenever you feel like you're at a good breaking point. I think Elaine is definitely at her breaking point at this point. Elaine, this is a good time. Okay, thank you. I hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our 15-minute afternoon break. So
we've got some evidentiary issues to deal with.
Okay,
That's fair. Let's deal with evidence. Let's deal with evidence. Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a break. The court, all right. Ms. Hurd, just remember you're on the stand.
I sent it to her because I'd been texting about some of the craziness.
They're court
And
populated.
Objection, hearsay.
They're court populated.
I'll sustain as to what she may have texted. All right, next question.
Can you bring up 170?
Ms. Bredehoff, and if we could scroll up, is this a text message exchange with your mom? I have a hair on my lip. Me. Is this a text message exchange with your mom? Correct? Yes, it is. Let's scroll down. I mean, Your Honor, I'm going to object to hearsay. Ms. Bredehoff, let's wait until we get to the spot. Elaine's like, can we wait? Can we not do that now? Let's wait till we get to the spot. All right. And this picture you sent to your mom on 3/23/13. Yes, it is. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, I'm going to move for the admission of 170. Just that picture that's on the text, the court with no words. Ms. Bredehoff, well, it says from 2 weeks ago on it. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, Ms. Bredehoff, if we redact the from 2 weeks ago, this is all said in front of the court, in front of the jury, right? If we redact the from 2 weeks ago, can we admit it then and just have the showing that she said it to her mom? Ms. Vasquez, may we approach? Your Honor, okay, sure. Ms. Vasquez, this is highly prejudicial. She just read into evidence hearsay. I think she means she just read into evidence. Oh, she just read into evidence hearsay. Because she just said it all in the record. This is from 2 weeks ago, blah, 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 blah. Elaine just like said it all in open court in front of the jury. Shit horse, right? They've heard it. They can't unhear it unless they're not paying attention, but they've heard it. The court will sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, I know. Sassy. Ms. Vasquez getting annoyed before cross-examination even starts. The jury's been instructed about if I sustain, they'll be instructed on it again. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, so I just want to have the top show that she sent it to her mom and the date, and then we can redact the from 2 weeks ago. It just shows that she sent the picture because Your Honor's already ruled that that's not coming in. Any objection? No. So everything else is redacted on the page except the picture and the date. Is that what you're saying? The date underneath? Ms. Bredehoff, we would have to show that she sent it to her mom. Okay, everything else redacted? Okay, great. Redacted. The court, this might be your number 167A, but it's in evidence as plaintiff's number. I'm not sure which plaintiff's number it is. I don't need it in twice. Ms. Bredehoff, I would agree. Do we, Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor? I don't think that this version, two can play at that game, Elaine, and Camille's playing it now too. Notice how what Camille says is, I don't think this version of the photograph has been admitted, implying that there are two different versions of this photo, which we know they get into in rebuttal. The court, it's a different version, same photograph, but a little different.
It's not the same photograph.
Okay, not the same.
Right, well,
then we'll go with it. Then what number is it?
Do you
The
recognize
timeline's
this photo?
hard here.
yes, I do.
That bruise
Please
didn't look
tell the
recent.
jury what it is.
It's a picture I took of my breakfast table that morning.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the
Oh, the drug
admission
picture.
of Defendant's Exhibit 167A.
Oh, it's going to be a few days before we get to cross.
Any objection?
I think this is
Your
the
Honor,
one
may
with
we
the,
approach?
Sure.
and again, this is going to be a digital evidence problem, but I wonder if this is the picture with the lines of cocaine and the CD and the stuff like that. Please tell the jury what it is. It's a picture I took of my breakfast table that morning. Oh, this is the table with the cocaine and or purported cocaine, because nobody tested it. So I guess purported cocaine and driver's license and tampon plastic tube thing and whatever. Applicator. That's the word. Professional words. Your Honor, I'm going to move for admission. Any objection? Yes, Your Honor. May we approach? Sure. Ms. Vasquez, this picture appears cropped to me. So is that the full size, or is it cropped? Or is it just showing this? I think this photograph is many different. The court, I'm sure there's different forms of it, but she's saying it's an accurate picture, even if it's cropped. That just goes to the weight of it. It's fine. Vasquez, okay. Any objection? Then no. So when maybe publish it? Yes. So then they're just like, okay, well, you'll have to question on it if it's cropped or not. No, we're all confused AF with these timelines. They're all over the place from both parties. It's not just her. It's her and him that are confusing AF with the timelines.
May we publish that? Thank you, Your Honor.
We've already seen this photo. Is this a tampon applicator? Will somebody ask her?
Remember, you said that you 13. Did there come a time that you
So we're in May 2013.
wrote an email?
Objection, leading, and hearsay, Your Honor.
That's
May we
both.
approach?
All right.
Ms. Vasquez, I'm trying to do this preemptively. Well, right, before Elaine just puts it all on the record. The court, all right, that's fine. Just so we don't have any more slip-ups. The sass. But this is an email that Ms. Heard claims she sent to herself. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, hearsay. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, there's no exception that applies. The court, hearsay. So what's the exception that you offer? She's, I'm sure, looking to Ms. Bredehoff. This one is definitely present sense impression and mental state, Your Honor. She's saying how she feels about all of this. Your Honor, I told you we were going to keep doing it. Your Honor, I told you we were going to come back. This one's the one, Your Honor. This one's the winner. Your Honor. This one, Your Honor. This one. Present sense impression. Let's go, baby. This one is definitely present sense impression and mental state. The court, okay, it didn't happen in May. This is from June 11th that she's sending it. It can't be present sense impression. She's not in the present sense. Ms. Bredehoff, she's not talking about this Hicksville now. This is a juncture in her relationship, and she's writing the letter to him, but sending it to herself, saying how she feels. The court, it's hearsay, sustained. I have more questions about it. I have more questions about this email. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Ms. Bredehoff, in June, how were you feeling? So now Elaine has to keep recovering from this. She keeps trying. She keeps recovering. Her client can't say she didn't try.
Should I keep going?
Your Honor, do you want to break?
I mean, that's fine if you think this is a good point to break for the day.
And this is a good point to break for the day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and conclude for today. Again, do not read anything about this case. Do not do any outside research, and don't discuss it with anybody, okay? Have a good evening. We'll see you in the morning, okay?
And the jury's being dismissed.
Thank you.
That's the end of testimony for today. We will resume this direct examination tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, which means I will be here at, 9:50. No, that's Eastern. 9:50 Eastern, 8:50 Central Standard Time, which is where I live here in Middle Tennessee. But that is the end of testimony for Amber Heard's first half day. Good morning. All right. Before the jury comes out, I want to let you know for planning purposes, I plan to go until 5:30 today because we lost a little time through the week. So we'll go to 5:30 today. Okay, Your Honor. We'll go to 5:30 today, starting when we come back on May 16th. I want to start at 9 a.m. So we'll be going 9 to 5 through those last 2 weeks just to give us a little bit more of a factor so we can get all of our time in. Okay. Bredehoff, just 2 exhibits. It says exhibits, not exhibits. Defendants 167 and 170, I've already given the court defendants 167 and 170 with redactions. Great. We're still working with counsel on redactions. Great. Anything else? No. Okay. Jury comes in. Great. And
I just want to let you know that today we're going to go till 5:30. So I just want to let you know at the beginning of the day that we'll be going till 5:30. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Did you see that face?
All right. Your next question. Yes, ma'am.
Today we're going
Thank
till
you, Honor.
5:30 and they've resumed court.
When we finished yesterday, we were talking
We
about
rolling.
the Bahamas and the yacht and flying off in a helicopter. I'm going to just
And flying
ask
off in a
you to take
helicopter,
look
that's
at, Michelle, if
exactly
you can bring
where
up
it was.
Defendant's Exhibit 1091.
they're just pulling up an exhibit. All right.
I think that's 1090.
Court just started. How do you not have your exhibits? Literally, court just started. You've walked into court. How do you not have the first exhibits? Everything you're doing before lunch. How do you not have it in your hand? I am so confused. Like, what? Stop it. I am so annoyed. It's too early for me to be this annoyed.
I'm going to ask.
That's
Michelle,
very
can you
leading.
Pull up Defendant's Exhibit 188, please.
This is very leading.
Your Honor, I'm going
can
to
do that
object
too.
on hearsay.
Your Honor, I'm going to, let's pull up 188A.
I redacted everything but what Mr. Depp said. The court, okay, let me just take a look. Brenda Hoff, that's admission against interest. Hearsay exception. Party opponent. You don't have, do you have that? You don't have it? Give me a minute. While they're working on that, can you tell us what transpired between you and Mr. Depp when you wanted to do something with the cast member?
So, as I said, he came to London for his own work and also dropped me off in London where I had to be for a few months to film this movie. And he asked me to
Right
marry
back
him.
into it.
He brought my best friends and my dad out. They left. And shortly after they left, my co-star, one of my co-stars, invited me to go to a concert with him and some of the cast to kind of break the ice. And I'd be working with them for the next few months. And I had already, I already knew I couldn't be photographed, even if it was platonic. I couldn't be photographed with men or women that other people could possibly spin as romantic. I had learned that but in January, the hard way. So I asked him permission if I could go to this concert with the cast. And I said, Johnny, that he's my co-star.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Yep, different, but I understand the feeling, and that is hearsay.
Don't tell us what the co-star said. Just tell us what your communication was.
She
with
can't
Mr. Depp.
stick to what
Objection,
she's.
hearsay.
It is.
Her communications are hearsay.
Yes. She
That's
can't
the same
stick
objection.
to
I'm
what
not
she.
sure I understand.
If you want to press.
You don't understand the rules of evidence? It's her own statements not being offered by a party opponent, Elaine. That's why it's hearsay as to her. Don't look, woman. I think you've been a lawyer longer than I have, Elaine. I am very annoyed. And then they approach. Vasquez, she's going to talk about what she said and asking for permission. That's hearsay. Brenda Hoff, she's on the stand. It's not an out-of-court statement. You got to be fucking kidding me, right? At this point, you're fucking... Am I being punked? Someone is fucking joking me. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Try this on your law school exams. Amber Heard is trying to say what she said to Johnny Depp when she was filming whatever movie in London. And Elaine is saying she's on the stand. It's not an out-of-court statement. She's about to testify to something that was said out of court. Ergo, it's an out-of-court statement. What is happening? How is this happening? The judge is trying to explain to Elaine very simple rules of evidence. The very simple rules of evidence being that she can't offer statements of Amber Heard. She can only offer statements of Johnny Depp because he's a party opponent. Amber Heard is not a party opponent. She's on the stand. It's not an out-of-court statement. The court, she's testifying to an out-of-court statement. Ms. Vasquez, correct. Ms. Brenoff, she's on the stand. That's not hearsay, Your Honor. Oh my God. Like, yeah, you guys, motion for code green granted. Code red granted. This is beyond audacity. This is, you can't launder hearsay, Elaine. You can't say, okay, well, it's an out of court statement, but like if you say it in court, then like it's fine, right? Like even though it's an out of court statement, if you say it in court, then it's an in court statement. No, not at all. All right, if you're new, DEFCON red is flashy. If you're flash sensitive, the flashing stops when the music stops. So we are going to DEFCON red in 3, 2, 1. She's trying to say it can't be hearsay because it's not an out of court statement. And she is real fucking wrong. She's on the stand. It's not an out of court statement. She's testifying to an out of court statement. The court is like, ma'am, this is the definition of an out of court statement. The court, what she said out of court could be considered hearsay, but I'm not sure what the statement is that's coming in or what she's going to say. Ms. Vasquez, she asked for permission to go. She asked Mr. Depp for permission to, she wants to be able to go to a concert with her co-star. The court, that's not going to be in evidence. What's the next one coming in? What's she about to testify to? I don't know. Ms. Bredehoff, her communication with Mr. Depp and Mr. Depp telling her he doesn't want her to go. Ms. Vasquez, well, Mr. Depp's statement is not hearsay, but her communication saying she's asking for permission, that's an out-of-court statement. Ms. Bredehoff, she's on the stand, Your Honor. That's not hearsay. She can ask about it. She's subject to cross-examination. That doesn't make it not hearsay, though. Those are separate. Those are separate issues. I can't. This argument would make me bang my head against the bench. How do you even tell your coworkers this happened at the end of the day? Because this is so early on in day 16. How do you even tell your coworkers that this is what happens? Ms. Bredehoff, she's on the stand, Your Honor. That's not hearsay. She can ask about it. She's subject to cross. The court, yeah, she is subject to cross single fucking thing that's said. I'll take them one at a time. That's already in evidence. That's fine. And then we can get into whatever Mr. Depp said. That's fine. But these conversations back and forth, some of them are going to come in for context purposes. Camille said, I understand that. The court said, so we're just going to have to do it one at a time. Ms. Bredehoff, so please tell us what Mr. Depp said. And then they get into, he effectively said no, that if I accepted the invitation and went out to a concert, that the engagement would be off, that the relationship would be off, and that I was foolish and naive for thinking that people could invite me to a concert in a platonic way. I tried, look, maybe these were the signs that this was not meant to be. Ms. Vasquez, objection hearsay, because she said, I tried to say that if. Objection hearsay. Ms. Bredehoff, she's testifying about what Mr. Depp said. I don't understand. No, she's not. She's trying to testify to what she said. I tried to say that if. All right, I'll overrule it. He said I was foolish and naive, that no one could invite me to. How could I be so dumb to think that someone would just invite me to a concert? Why would they want to hang out with me? Also, no. Don't know. And that I probably wanted more, I was basically asking for it. You're going to go backstage. What are you going to say to the band? I know how this plays out. Who is the other girl that's going to be there? How could you be so stupid? Just her testifying that he's berating her about wanting to spend time with coworkers. Amber, I'm just going to ask you to stop right there because I'd like you to take a look at exhibits 188.
Do I have that redaction, or is that something you need to give me?
I think we're going to need to give it to you
Okay.
hard copy.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if I
I'm
can draw
sorry.
your attention
She went to
it.
put on the reading glasses and had to take them off because she couldn't
He
see.
first
I
says,
can't.
I don't want to
I'm
make anything an
dying.
issue, baby, but I literally
When he
can't
came
back
home,
up.
they had to carry him home.
Objection hearsay.
She's
Did
annoyed.
you see them?
I
carry
watched
him?
it.
Okay.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Please continue.
I watched.
Cross-examination
actually,
preview.
I was shocked that he could do it. One of the security guards carried
Oh,
Johnny like a baby.
November 2013, did you have any contact with Lily Rose that led to any
how is this
discussions
not
with Mr. Depp?
going to be hearsay?
Objection leading.
It is.
What, if any, communications did you have with Lily Rose
Still
in
leading.
November 2013?
Objection calls for hearsay leading.
I'm asking what her connection was. I didn't ask what she
I'm
said.
going to sustain the objection.
Okay,
She's asking a question
November
that can't be
2013,
answered without
what,
hearsay.
if any,
That's why it was a problem.
interaction did you have with Lily Rose without saying anything she said?
Ask better
Objection
questions.
hearsay.
Yep, it still calls for hearsay. The questions are asking.
Interaction, Your Honor. I'm not asking for what
You
she
are-
said.
If you can lay a foundation out.
Yes,
Okay.
the judge
Did there
just
come a-
kindly said, ask a better
Did there come a
question.
time in November
It doesn't call for an
2013
answer of
that
what
you
someone said.
Saw Lily Rose.
Yes, they came to stay with us for some time in the winter. Yeah, around November, I believe, 2013.
When you said they, who were you referring to?
Johnny's kids, Jack and Lily Rose.
All right. And was there a particular incident that led to a disagreement with Mr. Depp?
Objection leading.
Sustain.
What, if any, interaction did you have with Lily Rose that led to an argument with
Still
Mr.
kind
Depp?
of leading, but they're
Objection
gonna-
leading.
Yep.
That, what, if any?
What if any doesn't just fucking fix it though? Ms. Bredoff, what if any? Ms. Bredoff, what if any? Ma'am? Ma'am, no. The court said, if you could approach. This is early. This is early. If you could approach. Sidebar. The court, I understand what, if any, and I get that, but it's all the little extra that you're putting in there. It's a little, Ms. Bredehoff, I'm trying to give context to move along. The court, I understand that. I appreciate that, but I have to sustain the objection based on that, okay? Ms. Vasquez, thank you. The
Did you have an
attorneys.
argument with Mr. Depp relating to Lily Rose in
Still
November
leading.
2013?
Yes.
leading.
Can you please describe that?
She's trying to
Well,
lay a foundation at a time, but it's still leading.
I didn't, I was, you know,
She absolutely did.
Your Honor, I'm going to object on hearsay grounds.
Well, let's see what this evidence is. It's interesting. She definitely described the second proposal as in a much happier way.
It's
Foundation
still
doesn't make it
hearsay.
not hearsay.
May we
Ms. Heard,
approach?
did you, may I lay the foundation first?
Sure.
Ms. Heard, did you communicate
Could
with
still be hearsay.
Kate James by email in the ordinary course of your business?
yes, it did.
If
Okay.
it's a business
And
record,
I'm
it
going to
can still
ask
be
you to take
hearsay.
a look at defendants 209. Is this a communication that was between you and Kate James that was in the ordinary course of business?
No, the glasses
with
are
her
on.
as an employee.
Yes, it is.
So, Your Honor, I'm going to move the
But
admission
she's
of
still
defendants.
she's reading
Exhibit
without the glasses
209.
on. She goes to read with the
Business
glasses on,
record
then she takes them off to
Still
read.
hearsay, Your Honor.
Business record exception gets the business record, but it's hearsay.
It's still
If
hearsay.
there's hearsay involved inside the business record, there's still objection to hearsay.
Why is the judge giving
Your
a
Honor, the
fucking
business
evidence
record
lesson on
exception,
hearsay?
I mean, I do.
No. No, the business record objection does not. Lawyers and law students in the chat, I hope you are also screaming at your screen.
Hearsay can,
Hearsay can't be overcome by the business records objection. The business records objection, the business records exception just lays the foundation for the document. They're giggling. They're like, how do we not know this by now? Your Honor, the business records exception. I mean, I don't agree. I think that's the point. No, ma'am. The record gets in the record, but if the record contains hearsay, the court, business records exception. Number one, I'm not sure emails are business records. Number two, even if you get business records in, they come in. But if there's hearsay in those business records, that hearsay doesn't come in. Again, the fact that an email was sent, yes. The contents of the email, no. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor. Me exaggerating, probably. The court, but if you want to show me something different that says hearsay in every business record, come in. Please Show that to me. Give it to me, baby. Did she just ask for the rules of evidence? Yes. That's what she wanted. They handed her the rules of evidence so she could prove the judge is reading the rules of evidence. This is hilarious. That's what they have in this book right here that they are pointing out to Elaine and trying to explain to her why the business records exception does not overcome the hearsay issue. Ms. Bredehoff, one of the exceptions to the hearsay rules is the business records exception. The records of regularly conducted activity. No, that's the foundation. Yes, yes. And it says, I'm on 28036A. The record was made at or near the time of the act's events or calculations or conditions. Right. Monetary records can come in. The fact that an event was advertised could come in. B, the record was made and kept in the regular course of business. The court keep the record with a regular practice of that activity. This is an email. That's why it doesn't fit with the business record. Bredehoff, that's how she communicated with her. She was her employee. You would need the custodian of records, which if you watched the Murdaugh trial with me, you would have seen a lot of custodian of records come in. And the custodian of records came in and was like, I'm the custodian of records for cell phone company. And they'd be like, are these your records? And they'd be like, this CD is all the records. We downloaded this. We keep it in our database like this. And when we download it, it's like this. And we downloaded it and here it is. And then you have another witness come in and explain the records to you. Well, a lot of work, but there's rules. For custodian, business records are made for custodian. Invoices, accounting, not people's hearsay emails back and forth. Damn, Judge A. Not people's hearsay emails back and forth. I am forevermore calling them hearsay emails. They will never be an email. They will all be hearsay emails. It is my hearsay Slack message. Not people's hearsay emails back and forth. Neither the source of the information nor the method or circumstances of preparation indicate a lack of trustworthiness. Ms. Bredehoff, why would this not be the court? It's not a business record. It's not a business record. Sustain the objection. Oh, the hearsay papers. Is she going to try it? Look, they're all like on the edge of their seat.
Communications did you have with Kate James about your issues
her
with
offering
Mr. Depp?
her own statements are still hearsay.
Objection, hearsay.
I went straight from that movie to another movie, an independent film with James Franco. The one I had previously shot was with Christopher Walken. That's right. Okay, so I went from one to the other.
I'm having a hard time following her.
Saw Johnny in these, in between, like if I got a long weekend or, I'd fly home to be with him and then fly back. It was kind of like that.
Fly back from where? Where were you filming those?
In New York.
Okay. And
It's hard to
where
keep
was Mr. Depp at that time?
Johnny was in LA at the time and then eventually went on location for his movie, Black Mass, in Boston.
I was having
So
a
you were in
hard
New
time
York and Mr.
following
Depp was in
Depp at points.
Boston?
This is very
Some
hard
point
to
Eventually, by May 2014. That's it.
All right. And what, if any, discussions or arguments did you have with Mr. Depp relating to James Franco?
I mean, if
in
anyone on that
time
jury's
frame
had a
of May
broken nose, that testimony is going to
2014?
hit them as sus. My eyes want to water thinking about breaking my nose right now.
It's a nightmare.
I can, yep.
I wanted to do this independent film. I'm
struggling.
liked the story. I liked the character. I told him I'm not going to wear makeup in the thing.
Objection, hearsay.
Apparently what? Narrated, Elaine. Narrated. Let's approach again and talk again about the fundamentals of hearsay. Objection, hearsay. Ms. Bredehoff, apparently the court. Ms. Bredehoff, if we could approach, please. This is not a well-prepped witness. This is not a well-prepped client. We knew that from watching it. It's painful reliving it. I'm exhausted. The court. I don't need these side comments. Ooh, it's the apparently. Objection, hearsay. Apparently. Damn. Damn. I don't need these side comments. Ms. Bredehoff, I apologize for that. I'm just so baffled. No, you're not. You prepped an entire brief knowing this was going to be a problem. I'm just so baffled. I don't know why. The court, if there's a prior statement that she made, it's hearsay. Unless you have an exception for it, context is not an exception. The court's like, I said what I said. They're arguing the same shit over and over again at sidebar. At this point, I would have lost my mind. I would not have kept my composure. I would be so tired. I apologize for that. I'm just so baffled. I don't know why. The court, if there's a prior statement that she made, it's hearsay. Unless you have an exception, context is not an exception. Ms. Bredehoff, state of mind, present tense. She's like an auctioneer. Your Honor, I have hearsay exceptions. Business records. No, those are not exceptions for, quote, I wasn't going to wear makeup. So it's true. Amber Heard didn't wear makeup often. Ms. Bredehoff, I mean, it's context as well, Your Honor. The court, context is not an exception. The court gives Elaine an inch, and she just takes a mile. Ms. Bredehoff, it's not offered for the truth of the matter. Because, of course, context needs to be context is not an exception. Hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted, right? So she's like, I'm not offering it for the truth. The problem is if you're not offering it for the truth, you have to then show why it's relevant. Because if it's not offered for the truth, why the fuck do we need it? Ms. Bredehoff, it's not offered for the truth of the matter. Then what is it offered for? Elaine. Ms. Bredehoff offered to show, well, it doesn't matter whether she's wearing makeup or not, Your Honor. That's not the court. Then it's not relevant because it has to be relevant. Ms. Bredehoff, but it's leading up to the argument. It's still context, Your Honor. The court context, Ms. Bredehoff, prior statement is hearsay unless there's an exception. Context is not an exception to that. Or if it's not offered for the truth of the matter, what is it offered for? It's offered for context. The court, that's not, okay, I'll sustain the objection. Just now we're getting into circular reasoning and the court is like, I'm the fuck out of this conversation. Elaine is now being told by the judge again why statements from Amber Heard can't be admitted by her. And it's very, very interesting to watch Elaine try to say, but no, this is not being offered for the truth of the matter. The judge has sustained these objections consistently the entire trial. And there are times I have said, that's not the truth offered for the truth of the matter. And the judge does not want to hear it. She has been sustaining those hearsay objections consistently this entire trial. And she is not going to start changing the way she's ruling now. You are not getting into statements by this party of
tell the jury
I said
what
this.
Mr. Depp said.
And again, Amber Heard is very much struggling to talk about someone not herself.
With James Franco.
She wants to tell the first person narrative.
Hated James Franco, and was already accusing me.
Then why did Elaine ask?
Secretly having a thing with him in my past since we had done Pineapple Express together.
Okay.
So I'm going to take you to the Boston plane incident. We've heard about that earlier, May 24. Can you please describe for the jury
what year are we in?
What took place?
Because we're time traveling like Dr. fucking Who in this thing, and I am confused.
Relating to the plane
Help a girl
incident.
out.
And I just remember feeling so embarrassed. I felt so embarrassed that he could kick me to the ground in front of people. And more embarrassing, I didn't know what to do about it. I got up and I walked to the front of the plane. I sat down.
I thought she was in the front of the plane.
And I just looked out of the window. And Jerry Judge's security and
It's the only security she
My
talks about.
friend, both kind of under their breath, asked me, "Are you okay?"
Objection, hearsay.
I spent the rest of the time looking out
I'll
of the
sustain
window.
the objection. Yeah.
And
Did there come a time that you tape recorded Mr. Depp?
I've done testimony of a
on
lot of
this
people who have
plane?
been hurt. They normally don't know what kind of shoe hits them. They talk about the feeling, like the pain or the pressure
I
or the
want to sit here and
force,
say that I
but
was
they don't talk about the type of shoe unless
like,
it's like spiked.
I was telling myself I needed to leave him. But as he got worse, he demanded the oxygen tank from the flight attendant.
As he got
Flight
worse,
attendant.
how?
Excuse me. And he continued to drink and then eventually started howling like an animal and passed out in the bathroom with the door locked. And was howling. And I at some point pushed record on my phone because
Was he passed out or was he yelling?
there was that 5% part of me.
Objection, non-responsive.
I
That's
don't think it's
fair.
non-responsive. She's
Well,
explaining
your opinion doesn't
what led
matter.
up to her tape recording and why.
She
I mean, I'll
didn't
just
ask
ask,
that.
I mean, I can ask her,
Okay.
will that solve it?
Yes.
Why
Ask her the
did you
question.
tape record him?
Why did you tape record him? Thank you for asking the questions.
Because I knew that Johnny wouldn't remember what he had done. I knew he would not remember. And if
Calls for speculation.
She can say what
She can say why.
did it and what she thought.
But
She
that,
can
did, that last part called for speculation. I'll sustain the
Don't
objection.
say I knew.
Don't tell her
why
how to
did you
testify.
tape
Don't
record?
say,
in my experience, when Johnny was that inebriated,
don't say
I would not
this.
remember
Don't say
what
that.
he had done.
Calls for speculation.
The jury is going to
how can
see
that
this
call for
attorney trying to tell
speculation?
her.
I'll sustain the objection.
This attorney, they're seeing this attorney
All right,
telling her how to
let's go to
testify.
defendants 221.
And that's why they keep objecting at these moments,
And I'm going to play
because Elaine is
three
trying to
different
fix
parts
it
for
and she can't fix it.
Your Honor,
I'm
may we
thinking-
approach, please?
Your Honor, may we approach the court? Okay, 221. Ms. Vasquez, so I anticipate this is the Boston plane recording. The court, it seems like it. That's where we are. Yeah, you've read that correctly, Ms. Vasquez. Ms. Vasquez, yeah. So there are other voices in this recording beside Mr. Depp. The court, okay. So I asked that those voices, the court, the clips you have aren't with other people's voices, correct? The court telling Ms. Bredehoff how to answer. If somebody ends a sentence with correct, it generally indicates that they want you to not fucking do that. The clips you have aren't with other people's voices, correct? Ms. Bredehoff, one of them is yes. Wrong answer. The first two are of him howling, but Your Honor, that doesn't, I mean, she's authenticated that. She's made the recording. The court doesn't matter. Hearsay can still be involved in tapes too. I can read the sass. Elaine, just because it's recorded doesn't mean it's not hearsay. I mean, she's authenticated the recording. Same as the business records, Elaine, a properly authenticated business record doesn't mean there's not hearsay inside the business record. Law is real fucking tedious sometimes. The court doesn't matter. Hearsay can still be involved in tapes too. So the other people in there, you're trying to get their statements in, that would be hearsay. Ms. Bredehoff, I'm not offering that. The court, okay. For the truth of the matter. So you are offering it. The court, what do they say? Ms. Bredehoff, he says he's going to stay with this fucking idiot until he gets, in case he gets sick. But I'm not offering that. I'm offering what's going on with the howling. So someone else on the plane calling Depp a fucking idiot is hearsay unless you call that person to testify. The court, I'm going to sustain that statement. Ms. Bredehoff, then the first two I'm offering, the first two are just him howling. Is that right? Howling? Is that what we're talking about here? The court is like, what the fuck is happening? The court, so just him howling and there's no other sounds or just her? Ms. Bredehoff, no, I don't believe so. Jerry Judge is just on the third. And Jerry Judge is deceased, so cannot come in and testify, so none of that comes in. The court, so you're just going to do the first two. The court is asking it as a question, but telling. Ms. Vasquez, that's fine, Your Honor. The court, So you're not going to get the whole thing in. We're just going to call the first one A and the second one B. Is that okay? So A is going to be Brennerhoff 0 to 1 minute. Okay. B will be 250 to 320. The court. Okay. Then after we hear those audios, why don't we wrap our morning? Great. Ms. Brennerhoff, back to open court. But she's saying, but Your Honor, I don't think it's that. Your opinion is not a legal objection or a legal foundation to why the objection shouldn't be sustained. So that's where I'm getting frustrated watching this.
So we're going to start with 221 and we're going to call it A, and that'll be 0.
So they're trying to admit something into evidence. We'll see what they're admitting. I didn't hear another objection. I don't know if there was one, but we'll see. So they're working on a piece of evidence. Again, these should have been prepared at the beginning of the day. They had overnight. They know what they're doing. I need you to know the evidence, Elaine. They're approaching again. Wowzers. What is happening? Your Honor, may I approach? You were just at Sidebar. Ms. Bretterhoff, I think all three of them have already been admitted into evidence and were played during Mr. Depp's cross-examination. The court, do you have any of the audio? I don't remember the numbers, so you have to tell me which numbers they are. Ms. Bretterhoff, yes, it's already been played, Your Honor. It was played during Mr. Depp's cross-examination. Not with Jerry Judge's statement, it wasn't. The court, not the third one, because they said Jerry Judge is in the third one, and I have not heard any recordings of other people. Mr. Nadelhoff, remember during his, we can check at the break, the court, you can check, but let's just do those two now. How about that? Nadelhoff, fine. Bretterhoff, we're going to start with the first one, 0 to 1 minute, and then you can turn up the volume. That's part of it. The noise on the airplane is a little bit loud. We'll be able to pick up the noise. It's very interesting watching Elaine Bredhoff, who is, from all accounts, a respected attorney in her area, not know some of these simple rules of evidence because they don't come up that much in deposition.
The first one with 0 to 1 minute.
And she does a lot of depositions.
Turn up the volume just.
So we're getting to audio.
There's part of it that the noise of the airplane is a little bit.
This is the howling audio, maybe?
To be able to pick up the noise.
Audio's coming in. Warning audio. And then they play the audio clip, Mr. Depp moaning. She talks a lot about the action.
221 is in evidence.
It's very odd.
221 is already in evidence.
So may I play the third one then, and then we can take the break?
Yes.
Thank you. That would be at 9.
You can play all of it if you'd like. That's fine.
I think I'll torture the jury if I do that, Your Honor. 9:30.
It's already in evidence. You can play it.
More.
But if this is the vomiting, you're going to torture all of us. We heard a lot of testimony from Depp's side that none of them witnessed any of this. I hear whispering.
Must have this fucking head in case you get sick.
I wish I'd screenshotted that face. From smirk. What was that audio of?
You can be changing gears after that, or do you have more questions for this issue?
No, I think this would be fine
Okay,
for a break.
all right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our morning break then. Just do not do any outside research and don't discuss the case with anybody.
The jury is being dismissed and we are getting into our morning break. All right, are we ready for the jury? No, may we approach? Sure, Your Honor, I'm going to have a series of text messages. Okay, I think that was outside the presence of the jury, all of it. The court, okay, Bretterhoff emails. So I thought I would just head it off. The court, sure, that's a great idea. If you're going to try to get into more emails, you're not going to. Looking at Rule 2803, the court, hearsay exception. Ms. Bretterhoff, it says the following are not excluded by the hearsay rule. The court, right? Even though the declarant is available and we've got admission by party opponent. The court, right? We've done that. Ms. Bretterhoff, we have present sense impression. The court, right? I understand. I'm very familiar. Ms. Bretterhoff says, I accept that, Your Honor, but and business records is also in the hearsay exception. I'm going to be putting a number of them and I'm going to be arguing with each of them that it is present sense impression and then existing state of mind, but I'm going to put them in. I need to put them in, even if Your Honor rules against them. That's not how that works. Anything you identify as part of the record, you can't put them into evidence. It's part of the record. Ms. Bredehoff, I understand and I fully appreciate and respect Your Honor has the right to rule however Your Honor wants to. The court, yeah. Just want to give you a heads up on that. So they're just going to fight again? I don't understand why this is coming up now. Like, how are you confused that you can't get the evidence in now? How is this a problem? We are 4 weeks into the trial. You know what evidence you're going to submit, but it feels like they are really trying to make fetch happen. Will she really be able to go a week without discussing this with anyone? Her PR guy, she can't discuss her testimony. She can discuss the case. I worry, but lots of times for Depp's team to prepare.
Thank you.
These are my predominantly the two exceptions I'm relying on with this series. There are some that are just spontaneous. Some of them are even almost, they're saying, the court, I'll have to look at them one at a time. Bredehoff, I appreciate that, Your Honor. I just kind of want to preview. The court, thank you. Vasquez, thank you. Open court. All right. The jury comes in. They get one question. One's doing MDMA, not him.
Plane ride. What did
I will do
you
that
do
at the break.
once you arrived, once you landed in LA?
I called for a car to pick me up, met me at the private airport, and I left. I got straight off the plane as soon as we touched down. Johnny had been saying what he would do to me once we got on the ground, and I didn't know how long this cycle would last, so I wanted to just get out of there.
Okay, first of all, Wedge,
went to a hotel.
I love your screen name.
And called my friends to join me, which was my coping strategy.
But if she fixed her nose, there would be doctor records.
I'm going to ask you to take a look
there
at
would be doctor
defendants
records.
204.
And she's an actress. Again, she's an actress. If she had injury to her face, I would expect medical records for her to fix that.
Did you reach out to...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay and leading.
We just fucking talked about this, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I would direct Your Honor's attention to the first one in blue and the third one in blue.
Just this was an issue.
Present sense impression, and
they. There's a real actual foundation, a legal objection, a legal
at that time.
opposition.
Yes.
Now we're going to have to talk about hearsay more. Didn't you just do this? You just approached. Why didn't you bring it up then? The court. All right, if you want to approach. Which means that the court's going to try to explain it to Elaine again. The court, all right, so I'm going to overrule it as present sense impression. Again, it's past. Present sense impression has to be happening at the time. If she called from the plane and saying he's kicking me, for example, Ms. Vasquez, overrule or sustain? The court sustain. I mean sustain. He's kicking me. Sorry. Thank you. He's kicking me. Those are present sense impressions. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, I need your help. JD. The court, yeah, JD. He is passed out on plane. Ms. Vasquez, but she says here, I'm headed to the court. That's the one I'm talking about, that one. So I need your help. Ms. Bredehoff, yes, I think that's state of mind. That's mental state of mind at that point, Your Honor. When are these texts? This text is at 5:24, and right before that, Ms. Vasquez, she's already off the plane, Your Honor. She says she's heading to AD. AD is one of Mr. Depp's residences on Sweetser. Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, the cases that we cited, even on the excited utterance and the present sense, it says it doesn't have to be immediate. It can be after. Clearly, it's state of mind. So now she's citing the case law, but I need your help isn't state of mind. Unless you're saying, I need you to help me. I am insert state of mind. The court, well, the cases that you have, she already has been assaulted and then she was calling and giving a license plate number. Ms. Bredehoff, that's one of them. That's correct. That's like immediately passed, though. The court, she's already off the plane. She's testified that on the plane, she was sitting looking out the window. Ms. Bredehoff, it's state of mind. I need your help. The court, she said she was looking out of a window at the time when she was, and then she was off the plane. Ms. Vasquez, and she recorded him. The court, then she recorded him. Just the window of her state of mind. So I'm going to Sustain the objection, both of these, okay? Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Bretterhoff. All right, let's go to 205. Defendants 205.
All right, let's go to 205. Defendants 205.
So they've fixed whatever they needed to fix. They've had a conversation about whatever they need to have a conversation with. Question, what would it mean for Amber's side if she got sanctioned?
You and Rocky Pennington, your best friend, is that correct?
Cost them money?
Objection, hearsay.
We just approached. Why can't y'all sort this the fuck out when you approach? By Ms. Bretterhoff, this is a communication between you and Rocky Pennington, your best friend. Is that correct? That's correct. Objection, hearsay. Have we learned nothing? This was frustrating to watch. It's more frustrating to read all the sidebars. Why can't we get it together? Team. Why can't we get it together? Why is this so hard? The court. Objection, hearsay. All right. Do you want to approach? The court at this point is exhausted. I was like, fine. Do you want to make your responses for the record? Ms. Bretterhoff, yes, Your Honor. The I'm not good is clearly a state of mind, a mental condition at that point. JD is drinking again and using some new round of prescription meds. He just freaked on me bad. Never seen him like this before. It's worse than I've ever seen before. It's over. Maybe not forever, but we're definitely on a break. That's also state of mind. It's also present sense impression. Some of that is past. I think some of that is state of mind. I think the I'm not good and he just freaked on me. Never seen him like this before. It's worse than I've seen before. It's over. Maybe not forever, but we're definitely on a break. I think some of that is her mental state. Like she thinks they're on a break. The court, so I can see the argument there more so than the other ones. The court said, I'm going to sustain as to present sense impression. Again, it's after the fact, and she's talking about this. What she says happened. And you're saying the first one, I'm not good, is her state of mind. Ms. Bretterhoff, definitely state of mental mind. The court, all right. What's your response to that? Ms. Vasquez, it's vague. I'm not good. She could be not good in a lot of senses. There's no context. I'm not good. All right. So state of mind must relate to a mental state that is relevant to the litigation. The court says, how is this relevant to the litigation? Ms. Bretterhoff, she just got, after being abused, she just got off a plane and she's not good. That's highly relevant. He's saying that he never abused her and that she abused him. Ms. Vasquez, she doesn't say she was abused. She says, I'm not good. I think that's splitting hairs on it. And the court allows it. Yeah, the court, I'm going to overrule the objection to I'm not good, but I'm going to sustain this to the last one. Okay, thank you. So I think I'm not good is fair to interpret as I'm not doing well. Like I'm not okay. I think that's fair. Thank you. This needs to be redacted. So they redact it back in open court.
205 with redactions is in evidence.
205 with redactions. Good. Well, they fixed the redactions.
Did you text your mother and your father about this incident?
Objection, hearsay.
Did you text your mother and your father about this incident? Now, if this had not been a total shit show, Camille could have waited because that should have been yes or no. But Camille at this point does not trust that Amber Heard is not going to launch into what she said. So that's why she's objecting at this point.
If you want to.
What, if any, communication did you have with your mother or your father following this incident?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustain that objection.
And then instead of approaching, instead of waiting for a ruling, Elaine just launches into another question, trying to fix it. What, if any communication did you have with your mother and father following this incident? That question's actually worse. That one elicits hearsay. The first one actually elicits an answer. So she tries again with what, if any, and asks a worse question. She can't say what she said.
Let's go to defendants 222. And
no, I don't think we'll get to cross today.
No
dumb questions.
We're going to be back up.
All right, you want to approach? That's fine.
Court, do you want to approach? The court, all right. So the one from the father is obviously hearsay, right? The court's like, Elaine, you know this, right? Like, you know that the text from her dad is hearsay. Like, you know that, right? Ms. Bretterhoff, yeah. The one I'm looking at in the blue box, that is state of mind and present sense impression. She's going through and recounting what transpired. We already talked about past. The court. And when was Ms. Bretterhoff? This was at 5:24. The court. So you're saying present sense impression for all of this. Ms. Bretterhoff, yes. It's describing what transpired. Transpired being the operative word because it's describing what transpired, not what's transpiring. And then it's also state of mind. It's how she's feeling about this and her struggle. Vasquez, after the fact, Your Honor. Passed. Ms. Bretterhoff, even after the fact, that doesn't take out state of mind. The court, present sense impression is not after the fact. It's a present sense. Ms. Bretterhoff, it's state of mind. She's saying where she is and how confused she is. The court, I'm going to sustain the objection to this. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Back in open court. I think they will get into that on cross.
Communications did you have with Kate James following the Boston plane incident?
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor, if we go to 224.
Okay. 224.
My argument would be business records exception.
That's not an exception to hearsay.
Forward, we can do it.
What is happening today, and why is Amber Heard's team not all the way together? Like, why are we not all the way together? Why is she looking woefully at the jury? I am so annoyed. If you want to come forward, we can do that. The court, let me just read it. You're saying the text message is business records? Ms. Bretterhoff, yes, with her employee. You would have to get those from the cell phone carrier, ma'am. Ms. Bretterhoff, yes, with her employee. She's talking about the hotel arrangement. She's asking her to book her on a plane, which is what her role is. She works for her. The court, but that, Ms. Bretterhoff, redirecting her text, etc. So it's a business record. No. No. Mm-mm. No, this isn't how this works. What you can't do is admit hearsay just because it's in a text message. Hearsay text. But Your Honor, the exception says it's a business record exception. That's an exception to the hearsay rule. The court, it's an exception, but it also says, I can read it to you. If there's any opinions in it, then it has to cover that hurdle. Ms. Bretterhoff, but the court says, and this is clearly all opinions in here. It's bad. It's worse than ever. Wow. Judge A, it's bad. Real bad. Judge A's like, this is the worst of the hearsay, and we've had a lot of fucking hearsay. It's worse than ever. Those are all opinions. Even if you get it in as a business record, none of the opinions come in unless you have another reason. Ms. Bretterhoff. So here's my other question. She's just jumping topics, hoping the court will forget. Kate James has testified and was allowed to testify. The court, I can only handle the objections that are brought before me. Ms. Bretterhoff, I understand. She testified because it was an admission against interest. The court, right. She said Amber Heard, was having a great time, wasn't worried about it, never said anything to her. Can't I do an impeachment on that? Fucking hell. No. You have to impeach the person. You have to impeach Kate James. You can't impeach Kate James's testimony if you don't ask her about it. The court, Miss James is not on the stand right now. Ms. Bretterhoff, but she was a witness and it could be impeached. This has gotten to TikTok psychic levels of, but they were students at the university. It's plausible. The court, you can only impeach the person that's on the stand, okay? The court also sustained the objection.
Now turn to 225.
Yes, lawnerdshop.com. I have all kinds of stuff. What item are they getting to?
I'm going to be referring to the last two blue spots on that page.
The court ordered
with the state of
The
mind.
court ordered date to turn over all of her information was at the end of November last year, and it has still not been done yet.
Mental condition.
It's an issue.
All right.
It doesn't, it's still hearsay, Your Honor.
Okay.
May we approach?
I'm flabbergasted that this is what's happening right now. I don't have words for the fact that this didn't get sorted out earlier. Ms. Bredehoff, and Your Honor, I'm going to be referring to the last two blue spots on the page with the state of mind, mental condition. The court, all right. Ms. Vasquez, it's still hearsay. Your Honor, may we approach the court? Yeah. Would you want to approach? I just want to make sure I get the right context. Sidebar, which ones? The last two. Yep, the last two. Crying. The court, she's sending them in two separate texts, all right? Crying my eyes out. So now this is Ms. Bredehoff's state of mind? This is supposed to be, she's trying to get to present sense impression, crying my eyes out. Like it's happening now, but it's not an impression of something else. It's a description of her own behavior. So Ms. Bredehoff, state of mind, the court after dinner, Ms. Vasquez after dinner when she's at the hotel, the court, we're losing context here because this is after she took the daughter out. Ms. Bredehoff, well, true. Stop there. It's after what she, remember that Kate James testified. A dog with a bone, this one. Remember, Kate James testified she was having a great time. She was consuming and no big deals, and she wasn't upset at all. And this is what she's expressing to Kate James, that she's crying her eyes out, which is her state of mind at the point she's crying her eyes out. What you needed to do is say to Kate James, didn't Amber Heard tell you that she was not okay? She's crying her eyes out. She's very upset. The court, but you're trying to relate it back to the time on the plane, to her state of mind. State of mind needs to be contemporaneous. Ms. Bredehoff, sure, she's still upset. It just didn't go away. The court, I'll sustain the objection. Thank you. So they should be getting back to asking God only knows what, because they aren't able to get into these text messages that they seem to want to get into. And some of this might be a problem. They're happy with how this is going.
I'm going to ask
Clearly.
you to turn now to 228.
Okay, so she lost on whatever that last thing was, and they've moved on to a different exhibit. They're not going to get sanctioned on this. I don't know what she's trying to.
Your Honor, we're going
do.
to object on hearsay.
First line, Your Honor,
Okay.
is all I'm.
She's got the rules of evidence in hand.
Ruling, but I think
I understand Your Honor's ruling, but I think, you think what? You think this goes around the court's ruling?
If you want to come forward, that's fine.
This is fucking embarrassing to watch. The court, all right, if you want to come forward, that's fine. The court, all right. State of mind? And is this? Ms. Bredehoff, I need your help. I think that's clearly state of mind. The court, I think Ms. Bredehoff at this point is asking the court for help. I'm teasing. Ms. Bredehoff, that's clearly state of mind. The court, how is that her state of mind? I got the other one in. I understand that. Ms. Vasquez, I believe you just sustained an objection to the same type of text message. The court, I understand. Ms. Bredehoff, actually, I thought the I need your help to Rocky came in for precisely that reason. Now we're getting snarky. And Elaine's like, you let the other one in. What's the difference with this one? Which is a fair question. What's the other one? What's the difference? Actually, I thought the I need your help to Rocky came in for precisely that reason. The court, well, she's had just gotten off the plane. Is that where we're at now? Or is this after dinner again? Ms. Bredehoff, 7:57. On what day? The 20th? 4th? The 24th? To her sister. That was sustained. I still think it's her state of mind, Your Honor. She's saying, I need help. The court said, so you're just trying to get, I need your help. Ms. Bredehoff, right. Recognizing I would like to get all of them. The court, no, I understand that. Ms. Bredehoff, I fully appreciate Your Honor's ruling. Do you, though? I feel like you don't, though. I feel like you don't. The court, a statement of the declarant's then existing state of mind, emotion, sensation, or physical condition, but not including a statement of memory or belief to prove the fact remembered. The court's now reading the evidence code. then existing state of mind, emotion, sensation, or physical condition. Help, I've broken my leg. Oh my God, I'm scared. But not a memory or belief to prove the fact. Ms. Bretterhoff, that's not a memory. I think that's clearly a state of mind. I need help. Your Honor, you just sustained the same objection to I need help. To Rocky Pennington, it's the same thing. It's honestly the same message. The court, it is the same message. Ms. Vasquez, this is what she did. Ms. Bretterhoff, this is what she did. Ms. Vasquez, doesn't matter. The court, I don't see, I need your help. I'm going to state of mind. I'm going to sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Ms. Bretterhoff, present sense impression? The court noted for the record. What that means is you're dismissed, and I note the objection for the record, but stop it. Are they moving on? Moving on.
Tell us.
She lost that one too.
Please tell the jury what you did then over that night, the next day. And
I've forgotten where in time we are.
At the hotel.
No. What hotel? Where are we? What is happening?
A lot. Resolved. Tried to. The strength to commit to leaving him. I knew I had to. I knew nothing else would make a difference. So I got myself back to LA. Excuse me, New York. And started going to Al-Anon meetings every day.
Where in time are we?
It's a support group.
What, if any, communications did you have with Stephen Duders?
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor,
she called for the conversation. You asked for the conversation.
What, if any, communications did you have with Mr. Duders communicating on behalf of Mr. Depp?
Objection, hearsay.
I would say agency on that, Your Honor.
You have to lay a foundation for that.
Yes. I'm tired. We're not even getting a page without an objection. And this transcript is 78 pages long. And we're on 28. Y'all. Which is why we're almost 3 hours into this stream. Objection, hearsay. Your Honor, let me ask it this way. What, if any, communications did you have with Mr. Duders communicating on behalf of Mr. Depp? Objection, hearsay. I would say agency on that, ma'am. The court, you have to lay a foundation for that. All right, let's go to 229A.
Right, let's go to 229A.
This judge is beyond patient. This judge is beyond patient. Beyond patient. You have to lay a foundation. I was trying to hokey pokey it, but
can
yes.
You tell us who this text message is with?
Johnny's assistant.
What's his name?
She might be trying to block the jury from seeing it.
Okay. And what, if any?
She looks annoyed. I would be. This is frustrating for her. This is not her fault.
Following the Boston plane incident.
Objection, hearsay. May we approach?
All right.
For fuck's sake. All of the fucks. For the sake of all of the fucks. What, if any, communication were you having with him following the Boston plane incident? Objection to hearsay. May we approach the court? All right. Yes, you may. Ms. Vasquez. So I'll let Ms. Bretterhoff, the court. What was your objection first, Ms. Vasquez? My objection is hearsay, Your Honor. Very few employees are hired to be speaking agents. Mr. Duders, while acting as an assistant to Mr. Depp, was not in charge of communicating with his then girlfriend, fiance, and statements on speaking agents only on matters within the sphere of their responsibilities, the court, and during the term of their employment. Ms. Vasquez, and during the term of their employment. So again, if you hire someone to speak on your behalf, they could be an agent, and then the statements that they make on your behalf are like attributed to you. That's not what's happening here. The court, I understand that. Ms. Bretterhoff, he says here, he's teary. He doesn't want to be a fuck up anymore. His words. Those actually aren't Johnny Depp's words. Those are Stephen Deuter's words. And I believe they could have called Stephen Deuters to testify. But they didn't. His words, and he testified in his deposition, Your Honor will remember, we showed you that Mr. Depp told him to reach out to Amber. Then he has to testify. But I have a feeling that if he was called to testify, what he would say is that he was placating and he was trying to negotiate the fights between the two. And there's a reason they didn't call him to testify. They could have. They didn't. Why not? The court, depositions aren't foundation for here, okay? Not the rules. So if you had him here to testify and he told him to say that, so we should wait until later on these, Ms. Bredehoff says, only if you're going to call him to testify, Elaine. The court said, okay, I didn't rule. So it wasn't part of the designation. Ms. Vasquez, no. So his deposition is not coming in. Ms. Vasquez, correct. Ms. Bredehoff, I'm not positive we won't put it in, Your Honor. The court, we can't. The depositions are done. Ms. Bredehoff, I understand. Again, depositions are done in this case. Ms. Bredehoff, I understand. The court, that ruling isn't happening. Oh boy. Oh boy. That ruling isn't happening. Oh. Stop trying to make fetch happen, Elaine. The court is not having it. You keep trying to make fetch happen. Fetch is never going to happen. I guess we know why it's not coming in. That ruling isn't happening. Ms. Bredehoff, I understand. Ma'am, my argument here is for the entirety of 29, which goes from 29A through M. It's admission by a party opponent, a statement by the party's agent or employee made during the term of agency or employment concerning a matter within the scope and agency of their employment. The court, right. That's what I have here. I understand that, but I don't see the foundation for that. Only matters within the sphere of their responsibilities and during the term of their employment. Ms. Bredehoff, so if I lay a foundation that she's communicating with him, the court, you've already said that. You already laid that foundation. Ms. Bredehoff, he's an employee. The court, it doesn't. Ms. Bredehoff, the deposition testimony on this, that's not evidence. The court, you're saying as a personal assistant, it was his realm of employment to text the girlfriend of his employer? Ms. Bredehoff, that's what he testified. No, that's not before me. Ms. Bredehoff, yes. No, Elaine, no. Ms. Bredehoff, yes. The court, I'll sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredehoff, but I'm sorry, which one? 229 for the record? I want to make sure I get them. A through M, the court, N. Bredehoff probably goes back to M. M is in Mary. M is in motherfucking hell. What is happening here? M4 might bang my head against the desk. M is in Mary. Okay, back to open court.
Did you ultimately communicate?
She lost that objection too.
To Mr. Depp.
Thank you.
What you first drafted up in an email without saying anything about what's in the email.
That calls for hearsay, Your Honor.
Every
Please
bit
do
of that
go ahead
before
and take
lunch.
our lunch break at this time until 2 o'clock. Please do not discuss the case or do any outside research, okay? Thank you.
This was taken for the afternoon. The bailiff, all rise. Okay, all back. Okay, before Your Honor, the court, all right, before we get to the jury, I just want to see talking with Sammy is Friday, May 27th. We don't usually meet on Fridays, but is it an okay day to have trial on that Friday? It's the Friday before Memorial Day. I want to check with the jury, but I want to check with you first. That will actually be closing argument day for anybody that wants to know. So I want to make sure I keep track, but if that's good with the jury, I just want to make sure, Bredehoff, that works. Your Honor, that works. May we approach? Sure. So this is before they come back from the lunch break. So Your Honor, perhaps the witness misspoke. What is happening? But she did say that yesterday or the day before she looked at some photographs. I just wanted on the record that clear instruction is given to her, especially in light of the break that we're having, that she's not supposed to be talking to the attorney about her testimony. Totally didn't happen. That she's not supposed to be talking to the attorney about her testimony. Perhaps she misspoke, but she did say that she looked. I assume she saw them before she was on. Ms. Bredehoff, she did. She misspoke. You didn't even check with your client, Elaine. How do you know that? Ms. Vasquez, at the end of the day, I'll do that again, but I don't need her commenting on the evidence or evidentiary issues. That's the second time it's happened. Ms. Bredehoff, I realize that, Your Honor, but I can't talk to her. The court, I know you can't talk to her, but you can tell her not to talk about evidentiary issues. That's not her testimony. Ms. Bredehoff, okay. The court, don't you agree? Ms. Vasquez, yes, Your Honor. And that's why I wanted to raise the court. If you want to talk to her about that right now, real quick or something, I just can't talk about things in front of the jury that we discuss outside the jury. And there's a reason we do things outside the jury's presence, Ms. Bredehoff. Okay. I'll let her know right now. No, she's just trying to slide it in. That's why those side comments are happening. Depp made them too. Both of them were making side comments that shouldn't have come in, but both parties did it. Open court to overwhelm the jury. I don't think it's a tactic. I think that's how she testifies, and I think that's how she's recounting her version of this, her side of this.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 236, which has already been admitted?
They've got to start. They've got to start out without coming in hot. It was heard say new words.
Amber, I'm jumping back to the Boston plane incident just for a moment.
Oh, God, no.
We had a lot of different text and a lot of exchange, but I just wanted
That's
to
a
point
lot of
out to
exposition, Elaine.
text message. And do you recognize, and I realize you didn't take this photo. I'm going to move the admission of it, though, Your Honor.
Any objection to 1809?
No, thank you, Your
All
Honor.
right, 1809 in evidence. You can publish.
And let me
Are we getting to
pass
Australia?
one up and give one to the other side. We tried to, given the strangeness of this.
Given the strangeness of what, Elaine?
Yes. Thank you.
Is that
I appreciate it.
Strangeness, what is that? Is that a kangaroo? I've got questions. Wait a second. Wait.
Recognize
Damn it.
this
Were there
photo?
kangaroos? Did I miss the kangaroos?
And could you tell the jury what this is?
Can you publish this again?
That is
There we go.
the
I need a
driveway
screenshot.
leading up to the house
There
that
are
Johnny was
kangaroos.
renting while shooting Pirates 5.
1810.
Ms. Bredehoff, if you have a series of photos, if you want to
Yes.
show council what they are, maybe we can get them entered all together and then you could just
Maybe we could just do this
go
in
on
a
with your
professional way.
questions.
In a
Yes.
professional way. Maybe we could just do this. Okay.
And these
So,
are all I will represent the
um,
ones that we got from Mr. King.
All right, if you want to take a look at them.
And Your Honor, if I may just approach, I'll give you the whole stack.
Okay, that's fine.
Why isn't this handled in advance? We know what we're admitting. I don't know the difference between the kangaroo and the wallaby. I'm going to post it on Twitter and ask. I'll post it on Twitter in a minute and ask. But I don't know the difference. So, not in that photo anyway. It was quick. Elaine is trending on Twitter, and all I can hear is your awesome voice saying Elaine. I mean, it's a lot.
By the way, Amber, do you see those kangaroos?
When I was pulling up to the house, I saw kangaroos
You didn't ask a
as
question.
well.
Wait, are we still in direct or are we approaching
This
the
was a
bench?
pretty big driveway.
What's happening?
It was a
I
pretty
don't have
isolated.
any objection. Sorry.
No objection to
Oh
any
my
of them?
God, this
I'm
is such a
sorry,
mess
Your
right
But
now.
make sure you look through them all too. I just want to make sure, because
Thank
I'll
you,
go ahead and read
Yeah,
them.
can
for
we
the record once
finish
you-
dealing
I've
with
looked
the
through them
evidence
all.
and then get into
And then-
questioning? Amber, do you see the kangaroos? What's happening right now? What is happening? Finish with the evidence. Don't ask her another question. I swear. Just what in the world is happening?
Did there come a time that you discovered a recording on your iPhone from Australia?
Yes, much later, there was this 5-hour long recording, and naturally, I didn't know what that could possibly be.
Naturally.
Because even though Johnny and I recorded each other often as part of our, struggles to figure out our relationship, this one was, 5 hours was unusual. And that's when I discovered that there had been this recording of the end of that Australia incident, if you will.
And did you listen to that recording?
I have heard it, yes.
And does it accurately represent what was depicted in that recording?
Are they going to bring this to the
Objection,
evidence?
form, lack of foundation.
You want to approach? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I'm wondering, because there was issues with this recording coming up earlier. So I'm wondering how we're getting into this. Miss Vasquez, objection, lack of foundation. The court, all right, do you want to approach? This is with regard to a recording, another recording. All right, the recording, Your Honor, is 5 hours long. What? She's not there for most of it. It's other people's voices, the court. So I guess the question is, how can she say the whole thing was accurate if she wasn't there the whole time? Ms. Bredehoff, I'm trying to indicate that the court, are we going to move it in? Ms. Bredehoff, don't we already have parts of it in? Ms. Vasquez, we do not, because there's other voices. The court, well, let's do that now. Are you moving it in? Ms. Bredehoff, yes, I'm moving in parts of defendants 378. The court, what parts are you moving in? You're not moving in all 5 hours to this jury, are you? You're not moving in all 5 hours to this jury, are you? Ms. Bredehoff, no. The court, but the parts you have, are they just, Ms. Bredehoff? They are other people. They are absolutely other people. I don't understand why that wouldn't be admissible. Ma'am. Hearsay is why. Hearsay is why. Ms. Bredehoff, if I'm understanding, it's not hearsay to see videos. The court, no, videos aren't statements. Videos are pictures, Ms. Bredehoff, but recordings aren't statements. Here at the court, if there's hearsay inside the recordings, it's hearsay. Ma'am. But Your Honor, videos are like moving pictures. Videos can be shown without the sound, Elaine. Audio can't. If there's hearsay inside recordings, it's hearsay. Ms. Bredehoff, all right, well, then I'm moving to admit them, and the court moving to. I'm moving to admit the recording, but I guess Your Honor is going to deny. But Elaine, or Vasquez, objection, hearsay. The court, the objection's hearsay. I'm going to sustain the objection. Ms. Bredehoff, can you tell me the number of that exhibit so I can? 378. Thank you. Thank you. Yikes. It looked like a linear pattern.
Ms. Bredehoff, just can you tell me the number of that?
Looked like
those exhibit numbers. So
378.
My official description is.
Thank you.
That's where we've gotten to this afternoon. And just a plug for the YouTube channel. If you guys like the coverage, go ahead and subscribe. Apparently, I'm gonna have to change my flight.
Testified that
Your subscriptions
you
would
made
help.
arrangements to return home. Can you describe? Let's take you to at the point you
Right,
left.
like
the
there's no way
Australia
you're recording
house,
for 5 hours.
to
right?
go to the airport and were accompanied by.
Oh, she
Ben
moved right
King.
on.
Could you tell the jury what?
The best I can describe it is it's like for every hit, every instance of violence, every time I was choked, every single one of these instances was like a heavy coin put into a piggy bank. And you think, okay, well, each single one of these is like.
Objection, Your Honor. Non-responsive.
It is non-responsive. I've never heard anyone describe a violent relationship like that.
And the third time this happens, I jump up. I already changed my pants twice. And I jumped up and I shout at Johnny, like, what are you doing? Or Johnny, you spilled on me again, something to that effect. And I get up, get up off the couch, and
I put the photos
Johnny's
up on
son
Twitter,
says,
so if they do. How do you know to look for hearsay? Whenever somebody says, they will take a
Objection, Your
look at
Honor.
them.
You
Hearsay.
are not offered to prove the truth of the matter. It explains what's coming.
Give you a good approach. I just don't know.
It explains what's coming. So she let the jury know. It explains what's coming. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, hearsay? Ms. Bredehoff, Your Honor, not offered for the truth of the matter. It explains, if you could approach, the court's like, stop saying it in front of the jury and come to sidebar. The court, I just don't know what the statement is, so I can't say if it's for the truth or not of what did his son say. Ms. Bredehoff, his son's going to say, do you need any help? She's going to say she looked pointedly at Johnny and said, no, thank you, Jack. And then she went in to change. And that's when he came after her. So it fits that she said, no, thank you. The court, so you're saying hearsay. Ms. Vasquez, hearsay. The court, why are you saying it's not? Clearly looking at Ms. Bredehoff. It's not offered to prove the truth of the matter. What he said, the fact that he said, do you need some help, is not offered to prove the truth that he wanted to help her. The court, what's it offered for? To show the chain that she says, no, thank you. And that she looks at Johnny. And that's what sets him off. And then he beats her up. The court, well, then it's for the truth of the matter. I don't agree with the court on that. She's trying to get it in for context. Well, but it's not, because Jack is saying, do you need some help? The court, all right, I'll overrule the objection. Okay, thank you. Amber, please continue. Jack said, are you okay or can I help you? So I don't think they're offering it to prove he wanted to help.
Amber, please continue. Jack said.
And that's fair.
Are you okay or can I help?
And since I won't see you tomorrow, I wanted to go ahead and give you your times as of this very minute of what you have used and what
yes.
you have left.
Oh,
okay?
yes, timing.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, Mr. Chu's going to try to use it with a highlighter. Let's wait.
That's
There
why
we
we're
go.
here.
There we go. That's right. Okay.
That's right. All right. So the plaintiff has used 35 hours, 6 minutes, defendants 36 hours, 31 minutes. So the defendants are already over by an hour at this point.
Which means the plaintiff has 26 hours and 9 minutes left, and the defendant has 24 hours and 44 minutes left.
Just a reminder, as we said from the very beginning, once your time is up, your time is up. If it's in the middle of the witness, I'm going to stop you, okay? So make sure, I mean the 9 to 5 schedule, when he starts back May 15th, will give us a little buffer, but not much. Enjoy the week. So other than that, does anybody have anything else for me? Ms. Bredehoff, yes, Your Honor. It's just a math question. Lawyers. I think we have 2544 as opposed to 2444. The court. Sammy says 24. Ms. Bredehoff, they have 35 and we have 36. The court.
If you add 36 hours and 31 minutes and 24 hours and 44 minutes.
Lawyers doing math. Lawyers doing math. Lawyers doing math.
You get what?
The court, you get what? Ms. Bredehoff, what is our allotment? Is it 61? Ms. Bredehoff, what's the total that we've got? What's the what? The court said, what's that? What's the total that we have? The court, 61 hours and 15 minutes. Does that add up then? That's right. Mr. Rottenborn says I'm right. Because he must be nodding in court. And the court's like, Elaine, Rottenborn says I'm right. Judge A is like, Rottenborn says I'm right.
Mr. Rottenborn says I'm right.
Mr.
Okay.
Rottenborn says
that's the right
I'm
time.
right. Okay. Listen to Stanford over there. So that's the right time, Ms. Bredehoff. Thank you. The court. Sammy did it 3 times over. So I thought that was right. You made him very nervous. Okay. That's good. Everything else? Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor. We do have an updated exhibit page and then they give the exhibits and that's it. That is the end.